Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester, an Odyssey sports station.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Ambers. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Snow day in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Welcome on in. Thanks for joining us at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free to download Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps, and also streaming live on our YouTube and Twitch channels at The Fan Rochester. There's one player on this Buffalo Bills roster that I believe is set up for redemption, and we will explain this afternoon and talk Bills, Broncos, along with some of these injuries that the Bills have going on, Gino.
Yeah, so today it's kind of like a Friday in terms of the NFL clock, where if the game is on Saturday, we get our last little bit of information in terms of the injury report. We'll get to that. And tomorrow, during our show, we'll find out about elevations that normally you would on Saturday. So, all right, if you see Frank Gore going up, that will tell you that Ty Johnson is not available. Let's set the table while we're at it. And certainly, you are always welcome to join us. 866-4FAN, 866-4326, our handle on X, The Fan Rochester. We are on YouTube and Twitch. Did I do that right, Danger? You can leave a comment in the on your YouTube feed. Coming up, 425 today. We haven't talked to Dr. Russ in a while. In the infancy of the sports bar, this is somebody you developed a personal relationship because he was doing some fantasy football writing for a national website. Mm-hmm. But he's doing it through kind of the injury lens. And I thought, wow, if there's ever a time I want to talk and hear from an expert, Dr. Russell Manalassis will join us at 425 because – hey, it's one thing to see the pictures. Hey, there's that Oliver out there. But with a bicep injury, the meniscus, is this real? Can he really be effective? What about Jordan Poyer? Would he be available next week? What about 41-year-old kicker Matt Prater? A major storyline last week, Danger, was, hey, let's bring on Wright here under the practice squad. Great. Wait, they're really going to go with Prater? Worked out, but it was less than 2 weeks ago it didn't work out, where he pulled himself out of a game and the Bills didn't have a kicker. So were you out of the woods on that? So many questions I want to talk to Dr. Russ, trying to help everyone just be a more educated Bills fan here.
God, he's like one of the OGs of the sports bar. Dr. Russ was present the night that the Bears drafted Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky, my friend!
See, you remember that night. I remember it for a different reason. And the Buffalo Bills are on the clock. And we got a trade to announce. Kansas City has traded up to number 10 overall.
Yeah. And then we remember the following day.
Jay, what was the general reaction to Chiefs fans a week ago tonight when they ended up trading up to the Bills to select Patrick Mahomes?
Thank you, Buffalo.
Worked out okay for him, I guess. Yeah, Dr. Russ, if you play fantasy football enough and you scour the different websites and the different services that share data with you, inevitably you're going to find that every platform has an injury guy, an injury expert. Like Pro Football Doc is like the guy that's out there that's kind of like separated himself and has become like the guy on X that everybody wants to know, like, hey, what does that mean for this player? What does that mean for my fantasy team? And Dr. Russ was doing it from one of those national sites that caught my eye. And he's great, local, and knows his stuff. So we'll get his take on these injuries right around 425. Joining us later this hour, always a pleasure to have former Buffalo Bills wide receiver, co-host of the Sick Podcast, Stevie Styles. Steve Johnson going to be joining us as well.
Stevie Johnson was active in the league the same time Brandon Cooks was active in the league. So I'm sure, we could joke, hey, like, dude, you should be on the practice squad right now, Stevie. What do you say? He might say yes to that invitation. He has great takes. Is it realistic, though, to expect Hardman and or Samuel or maybe even Gonsel to come up from the practice squad and contribute in some sort of fashion here? is there danger in knowing that, hey, you're down to 3 receivers? What can Denver do? And what about Keon Coleman? Keon Coleman, Danger, had one play, but that one play against Jacksonville where that's all you need. Hey, he's open, ran the correct route. It's a busted coverage maybe. I don't know.
Stiff arm.
Breaking a tackle.
Yep.
Get that yak. And I go back to week 1. 8 catches, 100-plus yards, touchdown. Like, yes, here we go. The Bills have somebody that can develop and maybe be that physical receiver. And then what happened? Well, the Bills had no other choice. Like legitimately, if Keon Coleman was slept in, was late for practice, we would know about it this week, Danger, because again, they have no other choice at wide receiver.
It's a long season,
right?
Lots of ups and downs.
But I trust everybody on the beat, and I don't think it's blowing smoke. That's since that time that kind of bottomed out in November. That he's done all the right stuff here. So, you're going to need him this week. We'll talk to Stevie Johnson, former Buffalo Bills great, and does a sick podcast with our guy Michael F. Florio. Yeah. That by the way, their episode has already dropped. We'll mention that. 866-4FAN is our number, 866-4326.
So when we had on Matt Perino yesterday, I want to say, and we asked about Brandon Cooks, the sense is that Cook's presence around Keon Coleman has actually made Keon Coleman sit up a little bit more straight, a little bit more attentive. And that's the guy. That's the guy that I have circled as okay, this is a huge opportunity, the chance for a massive redemption game. We'll forget everything that went wrong with Keon Coleman in 2025 if he has the kind of game I think he can have against Denver. You don't have Shavers. You don't have Gabe Davis. At minimum, you would imagine that Keon will have to contribute as a blocking receiver in the run game. We believe this could be a big James Cook game. Keon will have to be a part of that on the outside and contribute as a blocking receiver. And that, by the way, is a solid part of his skill set. He's good at that. His size matters. But what about an actual breakout game? What could that look like? Consider that Surtain might be covering Cooks, which would leave Coleman covered by Riley Moss. And again, Coleman's size gives him an advantage there. And in the red zone, you could certainly see Keon elevating, going up, and getting it. Also, keep in mind, Denver is a team that leads the league in defensive pass interference penalties with 22. Moss has 8 of those 22. They're one of the most penalized teams in the league. And on top of that, reffing the game on Saturday is the crew of Carl Sheffers. They have called the second most penalties of any crew this season, averaging just over 17.5 flags per game. This feels like a perfect storm. It feels like the conditions are ripe for a Keon Coleman redemption game on Saturday.
It's funny because I think one advantage, and we didn't expect this, right, is the biggest surprise, pleasant surprise that Tre'Davious White forming into this true corner, too, that, boy, you don't want him off the field. Maxwell Harrison, by the way, is already ruled out. Yep. Okay, no problem. And Dane Jackson's already on the 53, so you don't really have to elevate anybody from the corner. But back to the point about Denver, where you identified Riley Moss, and we'll talk to a Denver insider tomorrow, but he seems to be somebody that maybe you could target. We've seen, my gosh, go back to the 13-second game, Gabe Davis going up against the Chiefs. Well, it was because the Bills were targeting a corner that day. Could you do that? How they employ Surtain is the big chess piece here, Danger. And when we talked to Michael Florio earlier in the week, the idea that, all right, Surtain on Christmas night, and I didn't watch it on Christmas night. It was Denver, Kansas City. Who cares? Well, that was interesting that Denver decided, all right, let's get Kelsey out of the game plan. We need to win this game. And it worked to a certain degree. Denver ended up winning. But that's not the normal thing to have put your corner one on a tight end. So if you're Surtain, where you said Cooks, I'm thinking you put him on Kincaid. I'm thinking that, all right, who's really the guy that if Josh is going through his regressions, who does Josh trust most? The answer is Khalil Shakir, but then the tight ends come into play right then and there. So if it's not Shakir, probably read 2 is Kincaid or vice versa on that. Keon Coleman shouldn't be read number 1. That's my point here, Danger. Like, if I'm Denver, I'm taking my chances with that. I'm not Keon, okay, this is your opportunity here because I don't see Denver doing anything out of their way to roll a man over to that side.
No, and I think if you're talking about Keon versus Riley Moss for an afternoon, there's going to be plays to be had there. I think if they decide to cover Cooks with Surtain, then the linebackers are tasked with covering Kincaid and Knox in the center of the field. That's, I think, a win for the Buffalo Bills as well.
Well, then that's a play action all day.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So.
There's a lot to be excited about, and I think a lot of fans, and I'm one of them, excited to see how this plays out because I think the Bills are going to win this game, and I really don't know that it's going to be particularly close. The more I think about it, the more it just feels like the Bills have some matchup advantages, and I know you could get down on the injuries, and we can look at who's not playing, but is there anything about Denver's offense that scares you? I know the Bills' defense through the course of the season was wildly inconsistent. Bad first half here, good for second half here. For the most part, though, down the stretch, they've been better. And McDermott has been in his bag. And you saw it as recently as last week. And I just don't know that there's anything on Denver's offense that scares me when you consider what the Bills have on their offensive side of the ball and what they could be able to do as far as putting points on the board.
I'm going to give you one thing, and it's R.J. Harvey coming out of the backfield. Like in that game against Jacksonville where they were forced to throw it and keep up 4 receptions, had 6 receptions in a game against the Raiders in which obviously Denver won. Like the second-round pick who isn't quite where Dobbins was as a runner. I'm not worried about R.J. Harvey, the runner, but if you start getting guys in space to the outside, I mean, Jacksonville lived there to the point where you're doing an autopsy of how Jacksonville's season ended. Hey, why didn't they run the ball more? Why didn't they, throw it to the flat a little bit more? You don't think that Sean Payton is kind of thinking, hey, let's get Milano or whoever in space here? To me, that's a concern, Danger. Like, Denver's a number 1 seed for a reason. I'm not going to say this is going to be an easy game. I think it's a better matchup for Buffalo, but that's one reason. But ultimately, I just keep coming back to Bo Nix. Is Bo Nix ready for a moment like this? Trevor Lawrence, he already had a playoff win under his belt. That was a few seasons
Pretty significant
ago.
one. Come from behind playoff win. I mean, that was when the Chargers were charging. Yeah. Pretty significant playoff win. But yeah, the idea that Josh Allen loses a playoff game to Bo Nix just does not sit well with me. I can't bring myself to live in a world or imagine a world where that happens. I think the Bills take care of business. We'll give our final predictions for Saturday. Tomorrow, I'll be on the break room with Duffy, Tommy, and Kimmy for Tommy Tells It Like It Is. And then, of course, tomorrow, a new episode at 3 o'clock. You mentioned that we'll have a Broncos Insider. We'll be joined tomorrow by Cody Rourke, who is the host of the Locked On Broncos podcast. He will be stopping by right at 3:25 tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, that should be good. DA tomorrow. So a lot of Bills talk. 866-4FAN is our phone number. 866-4326 is your way to reach us. You can reach us on the X at the Fan Rochester, our handle. Story out of the NFL today. I guess the Giants took your suggestion, Mike Danger. Don't let John Harbaugh. It was Giant fans speaking to you.
Yes.
Don't let Harbaugh out of the building.
Correct.
This isn't a done deal just yet. Like, if you think about, okay, what coaching announcements were made, and then all of a sudden, because the ink wasn't dried, I look at the Colts and McDaniels. That was the one where they were ready, and the press conference is all ready to be had, and then all of a sudden, no, he changed his mind.
That's right.
That was embarrassing.
I also saw reports that Todd Monken would be in line to be the OC in New York with Harbaugh. So, I don't know, my question would be, what pictures does Monken have of John Harbaugh that they're a package deal? But maybe that's part of what's holding this up. Like, no, I want my guy. And look, I think Monken, if Monken and Lamar had a strained relationship that led to a strained relationship between Lamar and Harbaugh and Monken, Monken is a mixed bag. I think you'll have some people that say, offensively, he's crafted some pretty good offenses, and we've seen some high-powered offenses. I remember when he was the OC in Tampa, some really good offenses there. But he's fiery, Monken. He's got some swag, and I kind of like Monken working with the kid, with Dart. I kind of like what that could look like for the Giants. I think that'd be a lot of fun when you consider what you have with Neighbors, with Dart, Scattaboo, and you give Todd Monken the keys to that car.
I'm going to give you something I really am pulling for. Okay, so you brought up the Giants. Actually, I brought up the Giants. Now I'm going to bring up, what about the Giants' ex-head coach, Brian Daboll?
Yeah.
So we know Brian Daboll took an interview to be the head coach in Tennessee. And, granted, this is the time of year you should talk to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think
Titans, by the way, going to talk to Mike McCarthy on Saturday. That guy's still out there circulating.
He's going to land somewhere with this many openings. And if you're looking for guys with experience,
I don't know that he is. I don't know that he is.
BWB? Box wine bat, baby.
Oh, you want to do a box wine bet on Mike McCarthy?
No, you got to be something better than Mike McCarthy.
This is my theory on this. McCarthy, Daboll, these are guys that don't fit the NFL mold anymore for what an NFL head coach.
Just say it.
He's fat. He's just a big slobby guy. And I get it. Andy Reid kind of broke through the wall like the Kool-Aid man and won a bunch of Super Bowls. But I think the NFL has a type. I think NFL owners have a type.
The NFL today has a type. The NFL of the 90s, okay, you had Wayne Fonts, and you had all these fat guys on the sideline. Parcells. Look at him.
Parcells won things, but a lot of these guys didn't win anything. And I think you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to talk the talk along with walk the walk. And a lot of these guys can talk, but players might just look at them and be like, I can't. This guy's a slob.
Well, back to Daboll.
Sorry.
The Philadelphia Eagles have reached out to talk to Brian Daboll about being their OC. The connection being here that Daboll was the OC in Alabama in 2017. He's coached Jalen Hurts before. He would know the division. Also, he was the OC in Kansas City. This is going back to 2012 while Nick Sirianni was the video coach.
Come on.
So
wait, Daboll was an OC in Kansas City?
Oh, he was the OC in Kansas City. He was the OC in New England. He's been around. Like you think of him going, and then he goes under the Nick Saban. Hey, let me kind of put some shine on you, and that's how he lands in Buffalo. So, can you imagine a Philadelphia Eagles sideline with Brian Daboll? I don't want him up in the booth with Nick Sirianni,
Big Dom,
with A.J. Brown, and then, and Big Dom at the end.
Yeah.
Is there enough testosterone to hold? Yeah.
Big Dom is there just to break it up, constantly break it up, because Daboll will get into it. Daboll doesn't hold back.
Sirianni's that same way.
Same way. God. I like Daboll in that role. That would be fun. I don't know if Philly fans would like it. I don't know if he would like Philly fans, but that would be fun.
Joe Brady, I don't know when that interview is taking place with the Ravens, if it already did. Regardless, as soon as the Bill season ends, I'm sure Brady will be in at least one other, these conversations. Somebody's going to bring back Brian Daboll. And when the Bills were kind of stuck right after the firing, we did a show or two on that, as a consultant. I don't think that's the direction you want to go here.
Well, the thing that feels different about this Bills team versus team coaching staff versus coaching staffs of the past is who's the heir apparent. Because Brady was the heir apparent. You had him on as the quarterback's coach.
Yeah, with Ken Dorsey when you brought him in, right?
Dorsey was the quarterback's coach when you had Daboll as your offensive coordinator. Who's our quarterback's coach now? I want to say it's I know the answer to this. Ronald Curry.
Yeah.
Ronald Curry is the quarterback's coach. Is Ronald Curry ready to be the next offensive coordinator if the trend continues and something does happen with Brady and Brady does take a job?
Well,
I would say
it depends.
no.
let's say the Bills win the Super Bowl and the pressure's a little bit off. Right, like you if you wanted to kind of develop a guy, because that's really the thing. I don't want a first time play caller. Like if he knows the culture and he gets around with Josh, great. Like, but that's really kind of a skill set. And the Bills let Joe Brady cut his teeth. Okay, great. He did all that work at LSU. This is much different, and I think where Brady should get credit. And this is what's the difference between the Bills' offense with Brian Daboll and the Bills' offense with Joe Brady? The answer's simple. The Bills had a rushing attack you couldn't rely on when Brian Daboll was there. And they had running backs, mind you, not at the level of James Cook, but they never even, tried. There were some games you didn't even try.
No, Daboll was very reliant on the pass. No question. And I think so much so that it strained the relationship.
Yep.
It really, I felt like it straight. You had a head coach. This is why I say, Brian, if Brady wants to stay, he's safe. You have the best rushing attack in the NFL, and I'm sure that pleases Sean McDermott to no end. That's exactly what every coach wants to do. You play in Buffalo. You have to run the football, especially in the month of January. We got to get to Stevie Johnson.
We do.
He is the host of the Sick podcast with our buddy Michael F. Florio, former Bills wide receiver. We'll talk to him a little bit about the possibility for a Keon Coleman redemption, all of these injuries at wide receiver, and what the Bills could do to get over on Denver come Saturday afternoon. Former Bills receiver Stevie Johnson joining us next. You could pull up a stool and join us anytime this afternoon on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. That's 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street in East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com.
Sports Update.
Final injury report is out for the Buffalo Bills. Maxwell Harrison, Jordan Poyer will not be available. Questionable for this game, Ty Johnson, Ed Oliver, Curtis Samuel, DeMar Hamlin, and Terrell Bernard. Sean McDermott on Broncos quarterback Bo Nix.
He's taken another step in his growth and development, and he's done a great job leading their team and making plays for their team. And, he's certainly mobile, and he has a good handle now in year 2 on what they're doing.
Former Bills receiver and the host of the Sick podcast, Stevie Johnson, joining us next here in the Sports Bar. Coverage of Bills football will begin at noon on 96.5 WCMF coming up on Saturday. Buffalo Sabres getting a win last night. They're back at it tonight at home, taking on Montreal. Our coverage here begins at 7 on the Fan. The Amherst coming off a shutout win over Syracuse there in Belleville Friday. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I guess when I was at Utah, I lived there. Yep. But when you go on a break and come back, it definitely, you can notice it when you're tired. It's a little bit harder to breathe, but I think we're in good shape. I think obviously it'll be a thing, but as long as everybody just keeps running, we'll be good.
Well, it's another minute thing, but just given the short week too, for guys who haven't played at elevation like that, how much does that factor into that?
I guess we'll see. I don't think it's going to be a huge factor, but we'll see.
Bill safety Cole Bishop. Team traveling to Denver, the high altitude, a big topic of conversation in the week leading up to the game coming up here on Saturday as we welcome in former Bills wide receiver, co-host of the Sick podcast, Stevie Johnson in the Sports Bar. It's always great having you on with us, Stevie. Thanks for making some time for us. And hell, we've got a wide receiver on this roster that was in the league when you were still playing. So why haven't you signed up to be on the Bills practice squad yet, buddy? We could use you this week.
I know, brother. I need an agent, and I think you're the guy. I was asking my guy, Mike Florio, was sick. He said he's busy doing his fantasy shows, and what's up with you? I need to come back to the Rock.
We got to make something happen because, man, it's thin. But when you look at what is available to Sean McDermott, how do you feel about this wide receiver group now that Gabe Davis and Tyrell Shavers are both done for the season?
You know what? It's pretty interesting. From a receiver perspective, you feel like, hey, I want to join and I want to do more. And if you're already on a roster, hey, it's my turn now. So I think I can help this team out. But it's really tricky because when you look at the team from the team's perspective, this isn't a wide receiver type of team. This is run the ball, get the ball to the tight ends. We'll sprinkle in the receivers if we can. We say the receiving game is good when Khalil Shakir has 12 for 12, 100-plus yards. But that's an extension of the run game in that tight end range. So it's pretty tricky, and it's cool for the Buffalo Bills considering Coach Brady knows how to operate the offense with a guy like Josh Allen.
Well, Stevie, the one thing I thought Tyrell Shavers brought to the team, his blocking ability. Of all the guys that might fill in as the 4 or 5, or is it Coleman, who kind of steps up in that role in the run game?
Well, in the run game, I'm going to have to say it's got to be collective between Cooks and even Coleman when the opportunity presents himself from the inside. We know what Khalil bring already. I added Cook's name because he still has the energy and he still has an aggression about himself outside of catching the ball and making a first down and giving that energy and that aura, which is excellent and what we needed. But still, when it comes to the run game, Shavers, he provided that Mac Hollins field where he was running on every route to get other people open, to take the top off, push the safeties back, and if you needed him to block, he was going to block hard and he was going to have fun doing it, having fun seeing other people play. But that's the benefit of this Buffalo Bills team, though. Everybody enjoys seeing the next man win, so I think it's going to be a collection of guys, GB.
All right, I'm excited because this feels like it could be a Keon Coleman redemption game. And tell me what you've seen out of him since we've had Brandon Cooks added to the roster, because we've had beat reporters tell us that Coleman has been minding his P's and Q's a little bit more with the veteran presence of Cooks being around there. And is there a matchup disadvantage here for the Bills where they could take advantage, rather, of who might be covering Keon Coleman and Riley Moss? If Riley Moss is on Coleman, I feel like there might be a little bit of an advantage to exploit there for the Bills.
Yeah, a good question. So first, what I saw out of Keon is great maturity in the sense of him still being himself and not going into the media and being negative, not making excuses for any of the situations that he's in. So I give him credit for that. As far as the matchup with this game, yeah, you would probably think that the Broncos would be the X factors, considering the DBs they have with Pat Surtain, the aggression that Moss plays with. So, it kind of balances each other out because a Bills fan would say, hey, the Bills have that advantage because look at who we have. We got Keon, we got this and that. But again, like I said, this isn't a pass-happy team, so I think that kind of balances each other out. And when you think about comparing Riley Moss and Keon, you would think that it's the Bills' favorite because Moss is always getting attacked with penalties, but it's because he played with aggression, and that's all you got to respect that. And if you can take advantage of that, which I believe the Bills can, but is that the Bills' focus? So I don't think they'll waste time really doing it. I don't think it's going to be that type of game, but opportunities will be there, and hopefully our guy Keon can make the play when it's presented.
Stevie, is part of the puzzle here for Josh Allen. Where is Surtain, defensive player of the year last year? I'm curious as how they deploy him. I mean, does he stay on one side of the field? Do they line him up perhaps against Kincaid? Is he good enough where, okay, for Allen, that's not going to be your first read, whoever he's covering here?
You know what? That's good. That's a great question for the Bronco Nation because if they want to see a guy ascend to the next level of he's already, like you said, been the defensive player of the year. Okay, how can you get better from there? All right, try to shut down an entire offense. Go line up against these tight ends now and shut down that part of the offense. Understand that this is a running team. They may not be passing the ball, so you're not really focused on coverage. Once you see it's a run, you need to be downhill and show that you got that evolution. So I don't see it happening, because this would be a first time he had to play both ways as far as being physical and the cover guy if you want to make that next step. But I don't think this is the time to do it. It's too much. The Bills have too many dimensions of their offense.
When you look at what's remaining here in the AFC and in the NFC in terms of these playoff teams, really you could look at Josh Allen and say, yeah, he's probably the best quarterback that's left out of these teams. And man, I want to take a moment, Steve, and get your perspective on what you've seen out of Josh as recently as last week. Because last week I felt like that wasn't like an eye-popping statistical day, and he still got 2 rushing touchdowns and was 80% completion percentage. I mean, talk about a quarterback who's taking what the defense gives him, and is that going to be the recipe again? It feels like that's what he's always done in the postseason, and he's done it with a great level of discipline and at a high level.
Oh, this is an excellent question. I love it because I've been talking about this since the season started, and we all know Josh Allen is an elite playmaker, but I was saying for him to go to the next level, he'd have to become a game manager, and the game manager was being tossed around like it was a bad thing, but who was great game managers? Peyton Manning's, Tom Brady's. I threw in Jalen Hurts because he won the Super Bowl by being a manager. You have to, when you have a guy like Josh Allen and he can go to that next level, that is where you're really the golden child. He's already proved to be the golden child. Every week he's the first guy to do something. So, I mean, it's pretty obvious with the accolades that, yeah, he's the best quarterback remaining. And I'm confident in saying that from playing against the Jaguars, who still have to prove it, but they had a great year. Going against the Broncos, again, great year, but I think they still have to prove it. But later on, the Bills still have to go against the AFC Patriots and the AFC or AFC team in the Houston Texans. I can't speak as confidently against those two teams because those two teams actually beat the Buffalo Bills when the Bills were at their highest. So, it's a different story when it comes to that. But these first 2 games, I'm going to speak confidently and hope the Bills do their thing.
Yeah, Stevie, you brought up the run game and a great season for this Bills rushing attack. But in Jacksonville, if you said before the game, hey, they're only going to rush James Cook's going to have less than 50 yards, I'm like, ooh, I don't like their chances. They got it done. Do we just credit Jacksonville on that? Is there more opportunity here against Denver? What are your thoughts on James Cook and the rushing attack for Buffalo?
So now that game was interesting because I feel like the Bills still won that, considering James Cook, he didn't have the explosive runs that we are used to seeing. However, all of his runs were still short, minimal gains, 3 yards, 4 yards going forward. We only was stopped when we had to go backwards through penalty or something else, trying to create magic. So I feel like with that being said, you add in Josh Allen because he's a part of that run game also. So he puts in 2 touchdowns that could have possibly went to a James Cook if you had that type of offense. So I feel like it was still a successful game, and the X factor for us was I was thinking who is it? Ray Davis.
Yeah.
Ray Davis with a special team. So I think that's going to wake up also in Denver.
I want to get a former player's perspective on how the end of that Jacksonville game went, because there was just over a minute left. It looked like Jacksonville was more than fine letting Buffalo score so that they could get the ball back with plenty of time to try and to get into field goal range. And I was in my head thinking to myself, what is our show going to sound like on Monday if the Bills lose this game? Everybody's going to pile on for the fact that you didn't kill more clock there. From a former player's perspective, Stevie, was that the right move for the Bills? Was Sean McDermott so confident that his defense was going to come up with a stop there with just over a minute to go for Jacksonville and no timeouts?
Brother, I am not going to lie, and I thought we scored too soon. I was like, maybe we do a quick kneel and move to the middle or whatnot just to get more time off the clock because we still had 3 timeouts. So that was my initial thoughts, like, why are we scoring so fast? But, I mean, that defense has been proven all year, bend but don't break, and they're playing like a unit now. When I say a unit, from the defensive line all the way to the secondary on the third line, meaning in the back area with the DBs. I mean, they're doing everything that they need to, and Babbage got those guys flying around. So this isn't the same defensive pass where they play soft, and try to mix in disguises, but they're playing soft in their coverage. This Bills defense, their DBs are playing press coverage now, and it's not always just man to man, which is what the Denver Broncos run. That's why I think the Bills will exploit them. But yeah, this defense is pretty special.
Stevie Johnson, our guest, former Buffalo Bills receiver, co-host of the Sick podcast. Stevie, as far as players right now, everybody's ailing, one degree or another. But my gosh, I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in terms of what the Bills are dealing with receivers going down, with Josh Allen having various ailments. We could just kind of rattle off the list. From your perspective as a former player, what is it like when you're heading down the stretch in a season, you're dealing with all these things, and are there any of these injuries that you would be concerned with that maybe even these players might be out there? Like, take, for example, an Ed Oliver. Okay, he might be out there, but how effective can he actually be, Stevie? A lot in this question, but your thoughts here about the Bills' injury situation.
Yeah, I give you both sides an honest perspective. So my perspective, since I barely had seasons that was, hey, you're going to be in the playoffs or you're in a run for the championship or something like that. So it's a little bit different. Guys, they don't work as hard. You got to really love it. So you got to be competitive. With the team right now, I mean, if you have guys out there at practice, they know what may be in the future. They know there's a real chance that they can be a part of a Lombardi team. Greatness this next game, you can be the star, the new star, because they've seen it week in and week out with the guys that's on the team. So it's a different motivation to come back, whether it's to be a disguise or to make the plays. And I'm speaking in Ed Oliver's situation. Like, if he's out there, I think that's going to be huge for the Bills in any matter, whether he makes the play or not, because of his effort and the motivation of wanting to be back out there. So it's I think it's a blessing if those guys are out there at practice. I saw reports of guys being questionable, and I think that's, man, if you're questionable, you're able. It's just the way you fit in.
Stevie, when you get to this point of the season, winning is fun, and the guys are having a good time, and they're playing for each other. And I think that there are specific guys on this roster that you could look at and say, oh, that's somebody that I think everybody wants to play for or see get that next win or see get that ring. And I'm talking about Trey White. The game he had last Sunday in Jacksonville was spectacular. It was the best we've seen Trey White look this season. It's the best we've seen him look in years. Is it sustainable?
Yeah, because they play as a team and they play as a group, and it's not all on Trey White. It's been all of those guys in the backfield at some point, from the rookie to Trey White, even to the vet in J. Poe. So it is sustainable, and I would say it goes off the team, because he's not having to necessarily travel. But for what he's doing is pretty special because, look, I said Pastor Tan can go to the next level by covering the tight ends and going to – Trey White has been covering tight ends throughout the season. So, and that's coming off an injury, off of getting released to another team, coming back, and then finding a way. You know what I mean? Like, it's pretty special, the story that he's got right now and what he'll be able to tell in the future.
Yeah, curious to get your thoughts at safety here because, unfortunately for the Bills, Jordan Poyer not available. Hancock goes in and, he didn't really have a great game. And you could look at it this two ways. Like, okay, well, he's young and he didn't get a full week of work here. So we're wondering, do you go with Cam Lewis? Are you bringing back DeMar Hamlin? Or will this look better with a full week of practice here? What direction do you think Sean McDermott goes here at the safety position?
I'm hoping DeMar Hamlin can come back, and that'd be a special rejuvenation for the boys because he's a comfortable player that's in the system. We know his abilities. Him with Bishop, an evolved Bishop right now, and even I still have confidence in Jordan Hancock, considering he was an aggressive guy we saw as early in the season in preseason. He wasn't one of those timid players that was good and he made the team. So this experience that he's getting right now, the next game, he might be already seasoned now, considering what he went through. So that's what you got to take into account with Hancock. And it's not like he was getting toasted. He wasn't getting toasted. He was there and is on the second level, guys, to slow down certain people when you're a safety that's playing off. To slow down certain receivers when they get certain type of passes, which is like in routes, in breakers, those routes that quarterbacks can throw the ball into the receiver's chest. So I think he was still there, and the Bills will still be okay because of how they've been progressing through the season with that defense.
Stevie, what are you and Michael Florio there working on in the Sick podcast that we can check out? We know you have an episode from this week. Anything between now and kickoff, and what about after kickoff that we can check out here? Your thoughts on the game and the rest of the postseason?
Yeah, actually, we'll be filming tonight at 6. We have a live show tonight to have our review show. We'll be discussing, all things coming up with the team and getting in depth with everything. And Mike is a great dude. He's informative and heavy Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
And which I didn't know. I didn't know Mike was from out in New York and supported the team. But yeah, he's been a cool friend and it's been fun rocking with him in the Sick podcast.
Yeah, he's on like NFL Network last night. I don't know where he's on. And like you see prominently the Bills helmet, the red helmet. Did that bring you back, Stevie, seeing that?
Yes. I love the mix. I love the mix-up with the blue, making it look like with the red socks, looking like the 90s and in the early 2000s. I loved it. I think they should go with it again. I don't know what the uniform combo is coming up to this game, but it'd be so cool if we was able to run it out with those 90s impression uniforms for the rest of this one.
I mean, a guy with the nickname of Stevie Styles, I shouldn't even have to say it, but look good, play good, right?
You already know. Look good, play good, feeling good, and then we go have a good parade out in Buffalo.
I like it. Stevie.
Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much for the time today, bud, and let's do this again.
Indeed. See you later, guys. Take care.
You got it. There's Stevie Johnson. So great having him on and getting his insight. I mean, from a former player's perspective, from a wide receiver's perspective. And the perspective he's sharing with us is like the wide receivers on this team are secondary. I mean, it really is a run-first team. Everything goes through Josh, but it's a run-first team. And when you see a player like Shakir go 12 for 12, that's really just an extension of the run game. You're not able to get it going with the run game, with James Cook? Well, we can just throw it out to Shakir and have him gobble up everything. Not enough talk on the 12 for 12 performance from Shakir. I mean, 12 targets, 12 receptions.
Oh, the guy catches everything.
He catches
everything. Like he is reliable. And if he is open 5 yards down the field, and you heard Stevie talk about it, how Josh Allen has changed the style of his game. Okay, that's the Welker / whatever receiver Brady had all those years. Hey, we need a first down, or let's get something positive here on 1st and 10, whatever it is. And the run after catch, he is so slippery. Just looked it up. It is going to be the same uniform combo, meaning the white helmets, white jerseys, blue pants, the blue socks. And hey, I'm superstitious. I don't know about you. I don't think you want to mess with a thing. I don't know who has the home uniform, who is the designated home team for this Super Bowl, but if it's not Buffalo, you could stick with that the whole way through, I think.
Look who slid into my DMs.
Stevie.
One of our regulars. No, not Stevie. One of our regulars. Tommy.
Oh.
Tommy. Because he's Italian. This is from yesterday. But Tommy must have been listening in the Odyssey app. With Odyssey app, you can go back and listen to the show for if you miss any part of today's show, it's like DVR. You can go back and listen to yesterday's show right now if you wanted to hear it.
Which I because I have the phones right in here next to me, and somebody calls in hey, did I win? Actually, that was yesterday.
Tommy reaching out. You're very witty, Mr. Danger. How did you know I use Aqua Velva to attract the hot chickadoodles while skiing? Oh, Tommy, just call it intuition. I married into an Italian family. Got a few guys in the neighborhood. They're not big into skiing like you are, buddy, but that's our buddy Tommy reaching out. You can reach out to us anytime at The Fan Rochester on any of the social platforms. We're also streaming live every day on YouTube and Twitch. Like and subscribe while you're there. Next hour in the Sports Bar, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into these injuries for the Buffalo Bills. And yeah, the injury report reads like grapes of wrath. It's long. There's a lot of people out there. We already know that Maxwell Hairston and Jordan Poyer are out. Questionable tags for Terrell Bernard, for DeMar Hamlin, for Ty Johnson, for Ed Oliver, and for Curtis Samuel. And with Samuel, Oliver, and Hamlin, they still have to be made active from IR. We'll find out about that tomorrow. But what about these injuries that they're suffering from?
Yeah, that's I don't like the storyline of Matt Prater was great last week, but if you're laying out, okay, how does Denver win this game? Well, turnovers and unexpected injuries and things like that. Stevie was right though. Notice how when we were talking about the receivers, and I thought we really have a receiver talk, and he's kind of painting a picture where for at least for this matchup, you're gonna be okay. Because the idea is to run the football. And you know what happens when you run the football? You control the pace of the game, and then every possession needs to count. You don't want this. What was the final of that Giants-Broncos game? 33-32. You don't want a game like that, okay? You don't want Bo Nix feeling confident and then flinging it around. I want every possession to count. And if you're going to minimize Denver's possessions, give me Buffalo all day in this game.
Dr. Russ joins us next hour, and we'll break down these injuries. We'll continue to talk Bills and Broncos. We have plenty of time for your calls if you want to join us at 866-4326. Our number again, 585-866-4FAN.
And streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Final injury report out for the Buffalo Bills. Out for this game, Maxwell Harrison and Jordan Poyer. 5 players are questionable. Ty Johnson, Ed Oliver, Curtis Samuel, DeMar Hamlin, and Terrell Bernard. Head coach Sean McDermott on the challenge of going against the Denver defense.
We've got to do as good a job as possible at managing what they do up front and what they do their front combined with their corner, one of the top corners in the league. And so it's a really good defense, very talented, and they play at a level where you've got to make sure that you've got all your assignments in check and you play good, sound football and you execute at a high level.
Sabres tonight host Montreal. Buffalo looking to make it 2 wins in consecutive nights. Coverage begins at 7 here on The Fan. NBA, one game in progress taking place in Berlin. Orlando leading Memphis 84-75 in the third. Amerks are up in Belleville tomorrow night. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amerks. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
Snow day in the sports bar. Kids home from school. School's canceled all over the area today. A lot of them canceled around the area. I got out and did not one but 2 scrapes of the driveway. Did the snowblower first, when it was starting to accumulate, and then a little scrape before with the man plow before making the trek downtown today.
Is that why you came in like 2 o'clock today? Is that what you were doing all that?
Man, just maintaining, man.
Yeah.
You got to make it so that that driveway is ice free. I don't want to hear anybody. I got three girls in the house. I don't want them slipping. I don't want them falling. I don't want anybody cracking through, including myself.
Look, you are employing the lawn. My lawn needs to be as good. I don't care about my driveway. It's winter. Nobody's looking at it. As long as you could drive up and drive down. And I have a snowblower, and I probably have to use it tonight, but I'm not wasting a single second if I don't have to. What are you, nuts? You're wasting time, dude.
Not wasting time.
You're wasting time.
No, it's satisfying, and especially if you can get out there after the plow and still after they plow the streets and still clear that way. Nothing more frustrating than getting out there before the plow, but if you can get out there after the plow like I did, the plow came through. I'm like, okay, time to get after it. Let's go. And, that. And look, I don't know how bad. I know some areas probably got hit a lot harder than others, but manageable. We're equipped for this. If you tell somebody from outside of our area about the amount of snow we get over the course of just a few hours, their head explodes. Like, what? No, we can handle. We can handle.
Well, it should be kind of messy going home, so just everybody just kind of take your time. Yeah, it was a slow go going in this morning.
I see my daughter working, man. She wants a snow day again tomorrow. I don't know if this is supposed to continue. I mean, I feel like everything's fine and there won't be a snow day tomorrow, but that 5-day weekend was kind of like wearing on it was on the mind. It was something they were definitely thinking about. Ooh, a 5-day weekend?
I think you'll have to settle for 5 out of 6.
Yeah.
That's
not too bad.
Not too bad.
I think you'll take it. Dr. Russ will be joining us here in about 20 minutes. If you have listened to the Sports Bar from day one, we've been on the air for almost 10 years now. Dr. Russ he's always been kind of like our injury guy. We want to lean on him when we find out a little bit more about injuries. And he used to write for fantasy website he was like the injury guy and would give you fantasy advice based on the injuries that are out there.
But then you realize, wait a second, this guy's based in Rochester. We need to talk to him. And then you realize, wait a second, at the time he was just Russ and then became a doctor. So he's Dr. Russ now.
Dr. Russ joins us later this hour, and we'll go through the long list of injured Bills players who could be impactful and who could be a smokescreen, honestly. Like, even if Ed Oliver isn't playing at his full potential, is just having him on the field enough to free up somebody else.
I'm not overly optimistic about Ty Johnson. He practiced limited today, but he also practiced limited on last Friday. And was not active. The high ankle sprain. Just kind of texting with Russ, too. It's tough for Jordan Poyer. He'll get to that, too. Like, okay, he's out this week, but you can get him back next week. Like, okay, for a player in advanced years with a soft tissue injury, I'm also Danger, am I wrong for worrying about Matt Prater? Like, Matt Prater, it's less than 2 weeks ago, like, hey, I re-aggravated that.
I'm not worried about Matt Prater. In fact, if there's a bill that I'm confident in more than anybody, it's Matt Prater. Matt Prater revenge game. Matt Prater kicking a mile high. Matt Prater revenge game. I'm not worried about Prater.
So, Matt Prater, when I think of him as a Denver Bronco, he was not he himself, but somebody played the role of Matt Prater in a Saturday Night Live bit. There was a game years ago, you remember this, Danger, but for the rest of our audience, where all the Chicago Bears had to do was just keep the ball inbound.
We got Tebowed.
And for some reason, Marion Barber III decided, let me run out of bounds, stops the clock, and then all of a sudden Tebow, somehow a miraculous pass, gets him into field goal range, and then Prater bombs it. Denver Broncos win. And the bit starts off with the celebration in the locker room where everybody is very excited that Matt Prater did this, and enter the Lord there, and he wants nothing to do with Tebow. He only wants to deal with Matt Prater.
The one of our regulars, Chris in South Central Kentucky, reaching out at the fan Rochester on X, that if the Broncos lose this weekend, Tim Tebow, since you brought him up, will be, up to this point, the only quarterback drafted by the Broncos to win a single playoff game, and it was that season. I remember it well.
It's pretty wild because Denver, like the Orange Crush, no, that was Craig Morton. Well, wait a second, hold on. Like, what's the stat? Well, I guess Elway wasn't drafted by the Broncos.
That's the play. He wasn't drafted.
So Plummer.
No.
Peyton Manning.
I saw this stat cross my feed too, Gino, and I wanted to run it by you. And I know we spent a lot of time saying this week that could be a big James Cook week. This is a team that wants to run the football, and that the Bills, were able to win despite their lowest rushing total of the season against Jacksonville last week. Is there something to throwing the ball to win? Because the Broncos are 2-3 when they allow at least 265 net passing yards. Do you want to know their record when they don't allow that amount?
Well, I'm guessing they had 3 losses. They're perfect, whatever.
They're 12-0.
Yeah. So the 3 losses. Okay, let's review. It was Daniel Jones. That would have been Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
And who would have been the other quarterback?
Who was their third loss?
I should know this. Jaguars. Oh, it was
Chargers.
Yeah, it was
Herbert. So I don't know. I don't know if there's something to that stat. They're very good when they allow less than 265. Yes, less than 265 passing yards. So maybe there's a balance there where you can get Allen to that number, and also James Cook has a monster day. We can't wait. Pre-game coverage starts at noon on Saturday. We'll have Sabres hockey. We'll have Bills football. We'll have Amherst hockey on Saturday. We got all your teams covered on Saturday here on The Fan.
Amherst getting a win last night. Devin Levi shutting out the Syracuse Crunch. 20 saves for Levi. 20 saves for UPL in a 5-2 win. A win, Danger, where the Sabres had a mere 15 shots on goal, 14? Like if you're counting the empty netter at the end.
A couple of goals for Darlene.
Yeah.
Montreal tonight, right?
Tonight is the...
This is the reunion
This
night.
is the reunion, 20-year reunion.
Smart that they did the reunion night and did a big promotion on Montreal night. Let's see. I can't wait to see what KeyBank looks like in terms of the fan split, because I've been there in recent years. In fact, I think it was last season. It was last season I was there for a Canadians game, and it was close to 50-50.
I don't know if you're ever going to change that, though. I mean, you don't get a sense of just how passionate they are north of the border until you actually go up.
Oh, for sure.
And you get it right away, where it's just Leafs. Hey, the Blue Jays in the World Series, cool. Leafs. And when you go to Montreal,
it's all Canadians.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's all Montreal.
Wow.
Yeah. But maybe tonight looks a little bit different, or feels a little bit different with the reunion, and the Sabres continue to win. I think that's 14 of 16 now for them.
It's indeed. You just pulled a McDermott.
I wasn't 100% sure. Truthfully, not 100% sure. But they stay hot. They get the win, and they take on Montreal tonight at KeyBank. We have that here on the Fan Rochester as well.
There is a story here, and you'll see this across like more betting gone awry here, where there's a college hoops point shaving scandal. Danger. Now this is up to 39 players, 17 NCAA 1 teams, and UB, the Bulls here. 3 players are part of this and are getting charged. And I there's so many different angles with this, but when you look at the Division I teams, and mind you, hey, my alma mater, Fordham, fantastic. But the one thing that's in
Is
common...
there a performative male there, performing a performative male shaving some points?
Well, to be a performative male, you got to spend money on the hair and the clothes and everything else. Right. So, Danger, you
got to get that money.
You got to get that money.
You got it.
These players, according to these documents, paid from UB $54,000 each. All these programs have one thing in common. They're all not NIL programs. Your Kennesaw State, your Fordham, your UB. And the thing that I just find glaring is, gee, you don't think somebody would investigate this, that it's a sleepy Buffalo at Kent State game, and somebody plops down $445,000 on the money.
Right.
You don't think that's going to
set
set
up a
off,
red flag? Yeah.
Like, how on earth? I don't know. The thing is, like, who are protecting these kids and the families? Like the NCAA, if they were really smart about this, if they were really doing their job, that should be job one. They're not targeting the kids that play for Syracuse. They're targeting the kids that actually need the money, who will never make a dime in professional basketball.
My first thought when this crossed my feed was nothing, and that makes me scared because now
that's bad.
I'm numb to these stories now. It's like school shootings, right? Like you hear of them. They used to be such a rare thing that you couldn't imagine a world where that would happen, but now they happen with such frequency that you just kind of become numb, and your default response is thoughts and prayers, and it's like, that's not good enough. What are we doing? And now when I hear gambling controversies or arrests or point shaving, whether it be in baseball or the NBA or now in college basketball, I'm kind of numb to it, and it just gets you to a point where, like, all I have to really do is enjoy the product as entertainment. But why would I give more money than I have to betting on it if there's even a slight chance that it's fixed? Now, I primarily will spend my time watching the NFL. For me, it's NFL 1, NHL 2, MLB 3, NBA 4. But the NFL, if they've done anything, they've gotten in front of it. At least they've given us the optics that this is a zero tolerance. They will not stand for it. I mean, the Calvin Ridley story is like they suspended him for a year and he went away. You really didn't hear much from Calvin Ridley after the gambling scandal. And it wasn't him betting. I don't remember. Was it him betting on games, or was it just him betting? So it wasn't him betting on his team. It was him betting on games.
On games. He's on IR and he's using his app on, like, you couldn't be. He was just I would think he was just kind of oblivious.
Yeah.
To, like, hey, that actually applies to you when you're not active. You just can't be doing this stuff because you could have inside information.
Yeah. So I don't like that. I don't like that it crossed my feed and I saw it and I didn't even think twice about it. I honestly, like, when I see a tragedy somewhere, maybe this makes me ignorant. I don't know, but I try to not dig deeper into why it happened or what happened. When somebody's assassinated or when there's something horrible happening in the world, I kind of put my head in the sand and would like to remain blissfully ignorant.
Well, and you and I purposely steer clear of that because you're coming here for sports.
Correct.
We don't want to go down that path. This is, will we agree it's a victimless crime? Like, if you're point shaving, you're like, who is getting harmed here other than maybe the person that plunked down whatever on FanDuel?
Well, the sport. I think the sport loses its credibility. I mean,
that's it. Yeah, it's the business that gets hurt.
Right. I baseball, right? Like, you could say, hey, a grooved pitch here or there, or pitch in the dirt here or there isn't going to affect the overall outcome of a game. But man, I just don't want to believe that happens. I want to watch the game and not think that somebody is purposely throwing a game. And I'm sure you could point to a handful of plays throughout the course of an NFL season and say, "Come on, this is rigged. There's no way." What honestly, but I can't get myself there, and I don't want to get myself there.
And again, like I can understand why these kids could be influenced. Maybe they really need the money. Okay, like bring us to the Guardian situation where you had the best closer arguably in the game in Class A. Why is he even why risk it? And wait for the trial, but we don't know what's on the back end. We don't know where these guys come from. Their families are outside our borders, so you don't know what pressures are on these guys if they're just making an incredibly poor decision or they find themselves in a terrible situation.
I like the point you made, though, about this specific scandal because it's all schools that are not like NIL's powerhouse schools, right?
Yeah, let me rattle them off. Abilene Christian, Alabama State. UB, Coppin State, DePaul, Eastern Michigan, the Fordham Rams, Kennesaw State, LaSalle, New Orleans, Nicholls State. Do I need to? Robert Morris is on the list. I mean, like honestly, none of them are.
I think to myself, if you're one of those athletes and you are an athlete, you're wired differently. You want to be compared with your peers. You believe that you should be or are as deserving as the athlete that is getting the big NIL deal playing basketball for North Carolina or Syracuse or whatever it might be. So you want to get yours. It's never enough. It's greed. It's you say it. It's a victimless crime. Like, who's really going to get hurt? Who's going to find out? And
I suppose it's well intentioned by New York State, but let me just kind of point this out. You can't bet on UB. You can't bet on Syracuse because you were fearing this stuff happens. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Like I always find, like, hey, well, let's talk about the Syracuse line. Although if you really want to play it, you can't. Honestly, you're fooling yourself with that restriction in this.
I know that there are listeners that feel very strongly against sports wagering, legalized sports wagering, and I'll hear that. And I know there are a lot of people that are very pro legalized sports wagering, and they need it and they want it and they have to enjoy it. Look, I. As somebody that spoke on FanDuel on the behalf of FanDuel for several years, like I had a lot of fun wagering on FanDuel for from the moment that it became legal until the beginning of last year when I said, you know what, I want to just make sure that I can still enjoy these games without having some skin in the game, and the answer is yes, you can, and I still do. And I don't know. I mean, like everybody says, gamble responsibly. I am hesitant now to get involved because all of these scandals keep happening, and where I found myself getting raked was the sports that we're talking about. The NBA, always struggled with the NBA, always struggled with baseball, always struggle with college basketball.
You didn't even bring up Chauncey Billups when you look at some of. I mean, we're on to the next thing so quickly.
Oh, yeah.
That guy I'm bringing up kids that, all right, maybe you're young and you made a poor choice and you have other responsibilities outside of basketball. What is Chauncey Billups' excuse? Like maybe it's just you live in a world where you can, everybody says yes to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's gotten to that point, Gino, and I don't like that we're there, but it is a story that I just kind of like.
Here's what's going to change everything.
Tell me.
In our lifetime, will we have a scandal like this in the NFL?
That will turn heads.
That will, because how many times do you see and it could be an official, it could be somebody like that. Like, how can you make that call? Like, what is it with that call? Like, if I'm going to make you an offer, that's how I would attack. Like, some of the officiating, it's not the NFL, it's just been terrible. It's got to be better.
Even with the shadow officials on the sideline?
I forgot about the shadow officials.
The shadow officials.
Like, how is it, like, two sets of rules in the NFL? You go through, but now you have somebody actually explaining things to the head coach right next. Like, why are the rules different this time of year?
Yeah, it's because there's more at stake, and you can't get it wrong. You absolutely cannot get it wrong. I don't like that we're at this point. I don't like that we're at the point where another gambling controversy crosses our feed, and I'm kind of numb to it. And I still enjoy watching the games, but far be it for me to, plunk down my hard-earned, not knowing whether or not there's any credibility or legitimacy to what's being played on the court.
All right, so
on the field.
that's where you're talking about. Are we really concerned about justice, or are we really concerned that all these apps need to continue to make their money and the leagues need to profit off of it?
They're going to continue.
Honestly, like they're going to continue, but you are probably not the only one that says, yeah, you know what? I don't need to do that.
I always viewed, the lottery as like loser tax, right? Like you have no chance of winning. It's fun, and you could say you're entertained by the numbers, and you want to see if you can get a handful of numbers. And we do the pool here, and hey, everybody put in a little bit of money. Well, let's win our share of $1.7 billion. I'm like, yeah, nah, not for me. And I think I kind of am starting to feel the same way about sports betting. If you do it, I'm not going to judge you negatively. Have fun with it, man. Really enjoy it, because it's fun. And if you're fortunate enough to hit and get a nice payday, good for you. Absolutely good for you. But I'm at the point now with all of these stories where I'm out. And I don't know that there's anything that's going to pull me back in. Well, I mean, maybe if they say, hey, would you like to endorse our product? I mean, I'm a whore. I'll absolutely endorse your product.
I'm glad you made that known.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Like, I'll make sure in the next sales call I go out, here's Mike Danger. I'm a whore. I'll actually endorse your product.
You need me to endorse your product? I'm there for you. Let's make it right.
What other sports show in the nation do you get this sort of language that you do here in the sports bar?
Mm-hmm. Dr. Russ joins us next. We'll get legit. Dr. Russ will give us his perspective on some of these injuries that the Buffalo Bills are dealing with heading to the Mile High. And then, at some point we'll also, needle Dr. Russ because he's a Ravens fan. And they got rid of John Harbaugh. Looks like Harbaugh is going to end up with the Giants. So who's next?
Every Raven fan I've talked to, it's 2 thumbs up. Like PJ. Like, yes.
They're all excited.
They're all excited. So I don't know Russ's thoughts on it.
All right, we'll get to that. Dr. Russ joining us next on The Fan Rochester.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Final injury report is out for the Buffalo Bills. No surprise that Maxwell Harrison and Jordan Poyer will not be playing. 5 players questionable: Ty Johnson, Ed Oliver, Curtis Samuel, Damar Hamlin, and Terrell Bernard. Head coach Sean McDermott on Broncos quarterback Bo Nix.
We've got to do a good step in his growth and development, and he's done a great job leading their team and making plays for their team, and he's certainly mobile, and he has a good handle now in year 2 on what they're doing.
What about those banged-up Bills? We will talk to Dr. Russell Manalastis about the injury report coming up next year in the Sports Bar. Sabres, it's the 20-year anniversary tonight as they're taking on Montreal. Our coverage to begin at 7 here on The Fan. Amerks are up in Belleville tomorrow. NBA, a game in progress taking place in Berlin. Memphis leading Orlando 103-102. They're in the 4th. Team Battaglin, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, man, it would be super cool, but just me and Ed, speaking on Ed, we spent a lot of time together just throughout, our recovery and, training together, just working hard, just, preparing for, whenever that moment came of, being fully healthy and then being prepared to return back to play. So, we spent a lot of quality time together over the last 12 weeks.
Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin still on IR, as is Ed Oliver. Both limited in today's practice and questionable for Saturday's matchup in Denver. As we welcome in one of the OGs of the Sports Bar, Gino, it's always good to talk to Dr. Russ. It's been a long time, buddy. Thanks for making some time for us. And want to get your take on some of these injuries, what they might actually mean for their ability on the field if they make it on the field. Thanks for giving us the time, Russ.
Gene and Danger, it's great to hear from you. A pleasant surprise to get a message from you guys to talk injuries. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bills fans would rather be like, hey, we're clean and green, everything is just fine. That is not the case. Russ, we're just kind of wondering, if Ed Oliver is actually out there this week, what would it look like? He's not got 1 but 2 injuries he's coming back, so the bicep being part of it. But then around holiday time, we learned that he went in for a cleanup with some sort of meniscus issue, but now he's back on the practice field. If he's out there coming up Saturday, what kind of Ed Oliver would we expect to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think the surprise here was the knee scope during the recovery for his bicep. I think the challenge is, looking at some of the videos of him kind of going through warm-ups and going through some drills, looked to be pretty decent. Wasn't really favoring the knee too much there. And again, the big brace on the arm is just pretty basic protocol when you're recovering from a bicep injury. He's been limited all week. He's questionable for Saturday. I think if he's going to go, he'll probably be on a limited snap count, but at the same point in time, you'd rather have him be on a limited snap count than have him not at all. So I think he goes. I think he's more likely to go than some of the other guys we're going to talk about, but I think he could be a huge boost for the Bills on Saturday.
It's a pec injury that kept Damar Hamlin off the field and on IR for the majority of the season. He has been a full participant and is questionable. And with the news of Poyer being ruled out, do we see Damar Hamlin? And what about that pec recovery? Will he be no worse for the wear if he's out there on Saturday?
Yeah, so from what we've seen, looking at some of the data that we have, for those who have participated full throughout the week and then are listed as questionable, they've got about a 70% chance to actually suit up. So I think Damar Hamlin is more likely to suit up than not, especially like you said, with Jordan Poyer out, you can definitely use some extra bodies in the secondary there. So I think Hamlin plays. He's been a full participant all week. We haven't heard anything of any setbacks or anything like that. So even though he's listed questionable, I think he plays on Saturday.
We're talking to Dr. Russell Manalastis about these Bills injuries. All right, one guy that hasn't practiced fully. In fact, he was limited only today. Ty Johnson, who does such a great job blocking and coming out of the backfield on third down. He was in a walking brute right after the Jets game, not active against Jacksonville. And we're left to assume it's a high ankle sprain. So just the timeline. You've seen quarterbacks do that, but for a running back, Russ, is there any way mind over matter? Is that just an injury that your body is just not going to be able to respond?
Yeah, I think he's the guy I'm more concerned about. Didn't practice Tuesday or Wednesday, was a limited participant today. I just think there's not enough of a runway for him to fully kind of give it all. I mean, I think if he does play, he'll be significantly limited. And, from some of the reports I've seen on X, his ankle was heavily wrapped, didn't look overly fluid. It was kind of more stiff when he was kind of doing some drills there today. So I think of all the guys that we're talking about, Ty Johnson's the guy. I think he's got a shot just because of the situation and because of the game, but I think he's more likely to sit out. Again, high ankle sprains, they usually are about a 3 to 4 week, if not longer, injury depending on the severity of the ankle there. So, again, getting rolled up against the Jets there, I think it's just too fresh. And as much as he wants to give it a go, I'm not exactly sure he'll be able to.
Dr. Russ joining us in the sports bar, talking about these Buffalo Bills injuries in advance of Saturday's matchup in Denver against the Broncos. We mentioned Poyer. He's already been ruled out, and it's a hamstring injury. And I'm curious, Doc, if this is the last we've seen of Jordan Poyer.
Yeah, I think, again, getting hurt in the second half of the game against the Jags, it's never a great opportunity, again, on a quick turnaround on a Saturday game. Doesn't give you enough time to really kind of suit up, and he's already been ruled out. I think so. I think soft tissue injuries are so difficult to come back, even if they advance to the AFC Championship game next week. Is he likely to go? I'm not exactly sure. Even the slightest severities of hamstring strains usually take around 2 to 3, if not 2 to 4 weeks to heal. So, again, for a defender like Poyer, again, the problem is as in the secondary, you've got to react to the plays as opposed to like a wide receiver or running back who already knows the play to begin with. I think that's the more challenge is the reactionary part of his position is going to make it more difficult to return. So I'm not exactly sure Jordan Poyer is going to suit up even if they advance, so we'll see what happens moving forward.
Yeah, if you are looking at a position that you have to be twitchy and react real quick, that's a middle linebacker. Okay, is this a pass play? Is it a run play? What am I calling out? Do I got to go cover somebody? Am I going downfield to make the tackle? Like Terrell Bernard, I could rattle off all the injuries, and it's a credit that we're even having this. But like an ankle against the Falcons, gets his elbow busted up against the Texans. There's now a calf thing going on, and just overall listed as questionable. Even if he's out there, Russ, and again, we don't know. The Bills do a good job of not telling you the extent of these injuries, but when you have multiple things going on here, your thoughts on Terrell Bernard, not just this week, but, like how long would it actually take to get him actually right here?
Yeah, and I think, too, you got to look at the circumstances, too. They're playing in Denver, right? And altitude definitely plays a factor when it comes to soft tissue injuries, right? Like there's been a lot of cases in the past where people struggle with altitude and soft tissue injuries where, again, at altitude, there's a little bit more of like a constriction of the blood vessels, which doesn't allow the adequate blood flow. So if you're already dealing with a tissue that's recovering and healing, that might not be really, really beneficial when you're trying to kind of play a very, very important game. So I think even though he's been limited all week, he'll try and give it a go. The problem is calf strains are precursors to Achilles ruptures, right? We saw it last week with George Kittle, him tearing his Achilles last week. I think it's just there's a lot of risk here. And so I think while he'll try and give it a go through warm-ups and see how he feels, I'm not exactly sure how effective he'll be even if he does play.
We haven't talked about the most important player for the Buffalo Bills, and he's got many different injuries right now on the injury report. I'm talking about Josh Allen with the foot injury that was nagging him at the end of the season, with the knee that got kind of hyperextended against Jacksonville, and the finger that he banged on a helmet as well, which is the one that I'm worried about. Like, I know that he was kind of shaking it off, and it didn't appear to affect him, but I imagine that finger has been bothering him and probably very sore through the course of this week. Are any of these injuries, and that's before we talk about the headshot that he took as well, are any of these injuries of concern for you, Dr. Russ, as we get to the game on Saturday?
Well, I think the foot and the ankle have been relatively managed since Cleveland. So I think, again, there's always concern for re-aggravations when it comes to any type of lower body injury, just given Josh's game and the nature of how he plays the game. So I'm not overly concerned about the foot. The knee, honestly, I'm surprised he came out of there unscathed. I mean, we were 2 seconds away from having a different conversation about Josh's knee here based on how he got banged up there. But again, during practice this whole week, hasn't worn a sleeve, hasn't worn a brace, hasn't had anything on that knee. So my assumption is the knee's pretty good. When it comes to the finger, I saw some highlights of him practicing. He was throwing some deep balls there, 30, 40 yards there. Didn't look overly affected there. And so I think all things considered, given the magnitude of the game and understanding the gamer that Josh is, he's going to be out there. He's going to be ready to go. And I think adrenaline will play a lot to do with how he gets through the game there for sure.
Yeah, Russ, on the foot. So in Cleveland, right after the game, he gets an X-ray. It's bothering him. And then it's the following week against the Eagles, the incomplete, he gets an X-ray right after the game. And again, whatever it was was negative, but obviously there's kind of a pain issue, and I don't know if he's still dealing with that. What would that be? What would cause so much pain that you're thinking, hey, there might be something seriously wrong here?
Yeah, and you look at some of the conversation there. There was talks about an old bone bruise that was re-aggravated against Cleveland, and now it's just kind of pain tolerance more than anything else. Again, there's a lot of ligaments and a lot of tissue on the bottom side of the foot, on the outside of the foot, and so unfortunately, there's not a ton of tissue down there, right? And so ligaments in general and tendons in general don't really get a lot of blood supply, which makes the healing process a little bit longer. And so, in the midst of a regular season and playoff run, you're just going to try and manage it as best you can. I'm not overly concerned, but at the same point in time, the thing you worry about is him getting rolled up on, or if he gets hit low. Like, those are the things that we worry about when it comes to foot injuries, but also to the ankle. Like, I've seen at times him kind of tweak his ankle at times too on that same side. So there's definitely some concern, but I think less concern about the foot, considering that he's been able to play through it these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're talking to Dr. Russ. You brought up the calf injury, talking about the risk of that leading to other things. There's another player on the team with a calf injury. That's Matt Prater. Now, he was fine last week, but we saw in Week 18 it did flare up, leaving the Bills without a kicker in the second half. I'm a little bit of a nervous Nelly on this for a 41-year-old. What is the risk that all of a sudden we're not too far removed from him removing himself from a game? Your thoughts on Matt Prater and him going into Denver?
Yeah, listen, so I'm 41 myself, and as I know, and as we all age, injuries, they have a tendency to take a little bit longer to recover from. That's for sure. And so calf strains when it comes to kickers is never a great sign. Looking at his practice, he was full on Wednesday, limited today. I'm not exactly sure why the downgrade, but not listed on the injury report. So I think all things considered, maybe a limited practice was more just to kind of limit his reps today. So am I concerned? Yeah, of course. Like, listen, these playoff games are so important and every point matters, extra points, field goals. So again, it is his kicking leg. So I'm not overly concerned about him potentially straining it when he's kicking. I'm more concerned about it leading up to like his actually getting motion into the kick itself. So, fingers crossed that he's doing okay and that he can get a lot more recovery before Saturday. But I think all things considered, it looks like he's ready to go.
Dalton Kincaid has been such an important part of the Bills' offense through the course of the season, and man, to see him out there Week 18 in a meaningless game against the Jets, I was like, whoa, that's a little bit surprising. He's dealing with a knee. He's dealing with a calf. He's been limited in practice. No injury designation, so we'll see him play. But what are your thoughts, Dr. Russ, on how they've managed through this injury with Kincaid? And will he will be nowhere near 100%, I'm imagining, here the rest of the season?
Yeah, and even, again, in a meaningless game like that, I think a lot of times when a player has been dealing with so many injuries like Kincaid has, there is still benefit in being able to play those reps and get those reps. Because, again, game speed is so different than practice speed, right? And so I think, the opportunity there was to get some exposure, continue to just stress those tissues to kind of build them up, become more resilient. And I think they've been, listen, these injuries that keep popping up for Kincaid, it's one of those things where, like, hey, we can only manage what we have and we can only control what we can control. And so I think even though he's been limited all week and not on the injury report, I think they've done a good enough job for him to make an impact in these games moving down the stretch here. So, my hope is that even though he's not 100%, he's still, again, given the wide receiver depth that the Bills are lacking currently, having Kincaid on the field is going to be huge for them.
We got some breaking news here in the sports bar.
Oh, breaking news in the sports bar, yes.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
Ow. It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
All right, so Russ, you are the expert here when it comes to this, but we have a quarterback injury to talk about. This happened in practice today. Sam Darnold has an oblique. Now, Darnold, this just kind of coming across. He's meeting with the Seattle media right now, and he said something didn't feel right, and he didn't want to push it. He's getting treatment and says he feels like he'll be ready to go on Saturday.
Oh, boy.
That doesn't – so when I hear oblique as a baseball fan, I'm like, oh,
sure.
No. So to what degree are we talking about? Are all oblique injuries created the same? When you hear oblique, Russ, we're playing word association. What do you think?
Yeah, I think oblique injuries, regardless if you're a pitcher or a football player, especially a quarterback, they're not great. I think the problem is, your obliques, they basically come from the front side of your abdomen and wrap to your low back. And so any rotary motion, especially fast, rapid motions like throwing or having to evade the pass rush or try and scramble, those are all things that are going to affect that. So, again, we don't know the severity considering that it just kind of came out, but not a great sign for the Seahawks, especially since they play Saturday night as well. I think, he'll probably try and give it a go. And, again, obviously Sam Darnold in the playoffs hasn't been great, right? So especially with, let's say, looking back at last year with the Vikings there. So I'm not exactly sure what to make of it, but I do know that oblique injuries will affect his ability to, one, drive it down the field if he's got enough, pain tolerance there, but not a great sign heading into Saturday for sure.
Dr. Russell Menelauskas, our guest in the sports bar, also a Ravens guy, and
Yes.
you knew it was coming. We had to ask you about it. I mean, this is
it.
unprecedented, man. We've got three coaches, three teams looking for head coaches in the AFC North, including the Ravens, who moved on from Harbaugh. What were your thoughts on that, and who do you like for the successor to John Harbaugh there in Baltimore?
Yeah, I've been kind of calling for Harbaugh. I mean, I think a lot of times 18 years is a long time, right? You see Tomlin leaving as well and stepping down after 19. Listen, sometimes you just need a new voice. I think the late game collapses. Again, the Ravens over the last 5 years have led the league in losing games when you're up by 7 points or more in the fourth quarter. That's just not a great look. And so I think regardless of where they go, they need a fresh look and fresh outlook. I think, honestly, the defense is a mess. Their pass rush hasn't been great, which has exposed the secondary. And obviously Kyle Hamilton's an all-world player, but he can only do so much. He's one player. So I think whether they go a defensive-minded coach and then bring in, let's say, a whiz of an OC, I'm good with whatever as long as they figure up the defense and then let Lamar and Derrick Henry, listen, you got a couple of years here with Henry left. You might as well maximize their ability to kind of just, do what they do, which are playing at an all-pro level. So, it was a disappointing year, right? Ever since week 1 against the Bills, it just hasn't really turned out the way we thought this year. But, yeah, listen, we can look to next year. It's exciting to have, a candidate search to be able to see what the next steps are. And Steve Bisciotti, I don't know if you saw that interview. It's refreshing to have an owner that is just as Steve, and it's good to kind of see that. I think we're in good hands moving forward with the Ravens organization.
No, we don't have our owner talking in Buffalo.
We don't want him talking.
We don't want that. Yeah. No, we don't want that at all. I mean, like your thoughts on Lamar though, because I think there is this sentiment that he got hurt against the Patriots.
Yep.
Why don't you get back in there? Get out there. Like, Russ, is that fair or unfair?
I think the rhetoric and the narrative around Lamar, I think sometimes is unfair. But again, given his position, the way he plays position, everyone expects him to be out there all the time. Now, I will say this: a knee to the back as you're going down, especially right underneath, the pads, it's not a great spot to get hurt, right? And so again, cartilage is down there, your ribs are bothering you, right? So again, if you looked at the interviews after, he wasn't able to stand up properly. So I get it. End of the day, the Ravens should have beat the Patriots that day with Derrick Henry, being pulled those last 2 drives. I'm not bitter about it at all, of course. But I think Lamar, I think he deserves some criticism, but I think a lot of the narrative it's a lot more than it should be for him, for sure.
Dr. Russ, how's business? What's going on?
Yeah, things are good, man. Just trying to keep Rochester healthy. Again, we're located here at the Rochester Ice Center. A lot of big things here. We got a new rink open. A lot of great things kind of happening here, and just listen, trying to keep the Rochester community healthy and keep moving one step at a time here.
Russ, for folks who might want to know, how do they get in hold of you? What is your Twitter handle? That sort of stuff.
Yeah, so Twitter handle, I always like to call it Twitter. I don't call it X, right? Yep. It's at RussPT. If you want more information as to what we do, again, I'm a physical therapist and performance coach, and our goal is to make sure that we keep people kind of on the field, on the court, and not in my office. That's the goal. So if they want to reach out, you can reach me out on X at I just said X.
You did.
At Twitter, at RussPT, and then Mana Performance Therapy is our business name. Mana Performance PT is our business, and we're just trying to help one person at a time.
I see some of the content Russ puts out there, and I got to say, I got to get to you. Just, if anything, you can help me with my swing. I'm all arms. I got to get that core engaged, buddy. I got to get my swing right for golf season. And maybe while we're working on the swing, you can tell me why maybe it's just age catching up to me. My shoulder has been wrong since July, since doing some yard work. So hey. I owe you a visit, pal. I appreciate you giving us some time here this afternoon in the sports bar.
This is a real treat for me, guys. It's great to hear you guys. Still listen to you all the time, and I appreciate everything you guys do for the Rochester community, for sure.
Russ, thank you, bud. Let's do this again. Although if we do it again, that means something might not be right here with Buffalo.
Maybe that means the Bills advance if we do it again, right? I think that's a positive spin on that.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Russ, thanks, buddy.
Have a great weekend, Russ. There's Dr. Russ Russell Manalassis joining us in the sports bar, giving us his take on some of these injuries, not just with the Buffalo Bills, but now around the NFL. This Darnold injury just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, the fact that he's up there talking to reporters and he's couching it like I expect to be out there. I mean, it could be gamesmanship, but as Russ said, the oblique, you hear oblique, like, wait a second, he could be out there, but is he going to be effective? Mike Danger, who is the backup quarterback for Seattle if he can't go?
Oh, jeez. I'm just rifling through famous Seattle backup. Tavares Jackson is the name. I know he's not, but I'm thinking of names that are like synonymous with backup. Like, who is the guy that they traded for from Green Bay that Russ Wilson beat out? Oh. Matt Flynn. Who's their backup? I should know this, and I don't. God, that speaks to how steady Darnold has been all season.
Well, go back to Russell Wilson. That's the clue.
Oh, it's Drew Lock.
Drew Lock is still there.
It's Drew Lock.
And then you also have Jalen, you use my PJ voice, Jalen Milroe.
Oh, wow, okay. Drew Lock is still there. Wow. Yeah, I don't think we'll see Drew Lock. I think Darnold, it's the playoffs. If anything, Darnold has given himself an excuse if he does throw multiple picks. He's not 100%. I still like San Francisco. I can't pick against the Niners or the Bills.
I think you and Maggie Gray and a lot of it, if you didn't have your preseason prediction and you could just say, I was right, look at me, I picked the 49ers. That's the world you're living in right now, right?
I have to go with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, but honestly, there's a reason why Vegas is saying, hey, the Niners are good, and you get 7 points. Whoa, that's too good to be true. I'll take it. No, I would take the Seahawks to cover in this one, Danger.
Let's get to happy hour. Coming up next in the sports bar. Man, Stevie Johnson from the Sick Podcast, former Bills receiver. He was awesome. Great stuff from Dr. Russ just now, getting us caught up on the Bills injury report. We'll look at that, dissect it, and we got some commentary here from Sean McDermott, who made his availability on WGR earlier today as well. Everything pushed up a day, so tomorrow, I think tomorrow while we're on the air, we'll figure out who's been activated from IR.
Yeah, and this out of San Francisco, Fred Warner will not be activated off IR.
That doesn't surprise me. In fact, him playing it all for the rest of the season to me feels like it would be miraculous and really forcing it, speeding it up. But that doesn't surprise me. We'll also get to a round of shots, and we have plenty of time for your calls. Last call before 6, but your calls are always welcome at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. KMOC AM, WBEE HD2, and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Final injury report out for the Bills. Maxwell Harrison, Jordan Poyer are out. Questionable Ty Johnson, Ed Oliver, Curtis Samuel, DeMar Hamlin, and Terrell Bernard. Sean McDermott on Broncos quarterback Bo Nix.
He's taken another step in his growth and development, and he's done a great job leading their team and making plays for their team. And, he's certainly mobile and he has a good handle now in year 2 on what they're doing.
Meanwhile, in Seattle, quarterback Sam Darnold today, now listed as questionable. Darnold with an oblique injury. The Seahawks taking on the Niners Saturday night. Sabres hockey tonight here on the Fan hosting Montreal. It's a 20-year reunion of the team that got to the final of the Eastern Conference. The coverage begins at 7 here on the Fan. NBA one game in progress. Memphis over Orlando. They're in the 4th. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
It's time to start the show and talk about the sports we saw. Inside jokes and takes from Danger and Battaglia. Bills and the Sabres and the Amherst. Who gave a microphone to these jerks? Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. Welcome to the sports bar, that's where you are. With Danger and Battaglia.
We're going to talk about some of the inside jokes here in the sports bar. And if you listen every day, if you're one of our regulars, you probably hear us talking about, I mean, you get it. You understand where these jokes originate from. There's some that are so deep and so inside that unless you actually see it in person, you don't really know. It's why we have the live video stream up. Like there's stuff going on behind the scenes. We invite you to our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, where we stream live every day. We're also on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. Like you and our director of technical operations, Derek the Pizza Dude, have had a long-standing game that dates back to his time in college at SUNY Brockport.
Right, so I'm ready to do the broadcast here on the Fan, and he's doing the college broadcast with another cool dude, Nick Coble, who worked for us for a little bit too. And you could tell they're nervous, which is normal. Like, hey, you're getting ready for a broadcast, and you're all got that worked up, and you can see it in their face. And then, they're counting down, the producer, 10, and I'm like, hey, Derek. He looks at me. And I flip him off.
You give him the finger.
I give him the finger.
Yeah.
And so he remembers that, and then years later, hey, our paths cross, and all of a sudden, he's running the show here when it comes to engineering.
When we were having our prep session earlier today before we got on the air, you didn't see this, and you won this round. Derek the Pizza Dude was standing at the door trying to get your attention because he had his middle finger out of the holster. He was trying to get you.
That's like you got to make some sort of ambient noise.
I think he was trying to make a noise. He was trying to get your attention, and he wasn't able to do it. So eventually, he just walked away.
Now we have a new game that I think I can't describe this. The next time we are out and about, we can tell you off the air.
There's an anchor. Just in general, there's an anchor who, when this anchor appears on TV, I have the same reaction every time I see this anchor. And it's kind of like the Beavis scream. Remember, from Beavis and Butthead when Beavis would get beat up or something, or Butthead would smack Beavis and go, ah! It's kind of like that. I have that kind of reaction.
Yep.
Every time this anchor is on the TV. I'm not going to say what network. I'm not even going to say male or female. I'm just going to say there is an anchor that when they're on TV, I have that reaction every time.
You got me to look.
And I made you
look. Made me look. And then so you win the game. I don't know what game you want to call this.
We're 12. I really don't know why we're doing this, but we are 12. We are as immature as grown men can be. That's insane. And yeah, the anchor was just on as you're reading your sports update, which made you, wait, what happened? What's going on? Well, Sam Darnold is on the Seahawks injury report. That's going on. That's breaking news here in the last hour or so here in the sports bar, where it's an oblique injury that we just found out about, but Darnold telling reporters he's fine, he's going to be good to go.
He should be good to go. He couched it. Which, if it is oblique, as Dr. Russ explained, okay, he might be out there, but to what degree when it comes to turning your torso and trying to evade a pass rush and doing all the things you need to do as a quarterback. That's not great for Seattle. Going over the injury list with Dr. Russ, and it's lengthy, right? I think the takeaways there, Ty Johnson, I don't expect to be out there. In fact, if Ty Johnson isn't out there, well, then one of the two elevations has to be Frank Gore Jr. Like, you need a third running back. You just can't go in with two to Denver, or if you count Reggie Gilliam in the backfield. No, you need somebody else there. And Gore was kind of a non-factor, in my opinion, last week.
Which is why I kind of like the idea of him being out there. I think he will be a factor. I think you get Gore in a wheel route, much like you've gotten Ty Johnson in the past in a wheel route, big play on the outside. Like, that would be fun. I love that.
But see, the thing is, you're not taking him seriously as a blocker. The wheel route works when you're, hey, he's staying in the backfield. Oh, no, he's not. Scoop. And then you're out.
Yeah.
Like, Gore, I'm not sure if he can block. He got called for the hold last year, and they called Ty Johnson. That cracked me up.
Oh, right.
It's like, yeah, okay, no, Ty's not active. Ty's probably sitting on his couch like, what the hell?
Yeah. And by the way, Josh Allen is the only quarterback in NFL history to throw to a father-son combo.
I was trying to figure out, like, that can't be right. Like, you have Marvin Harrison Sr., Marvin Harrison Jr., and you have other combos, but haven't found one.
Nope, that's it. Frank Gore Sr., Frank Gore Jr. Both have caught passes from Josh Allen.
It's not like Josh Allen is like this quarterback who's been around for a
long
time.
It speaks to Frank Gore Sr.
Yeah.
It speaks to the longevity of Frank. I mean, that guy's getting to the Hall of Fame, has to, but it's a matter of time. But that guy was just remarkable. His longevity was sick for the position that he plays. Dr. Russ was great and giving us a little insight on what he thought about Ed Oliver. The Matt Prater conversation, by the way, if you look at his trajectory, did not participate Tuesday, was a full participant Wednesday, and did not participate. I'm sorry, was limited in today's. That tracks. That's every week for Matt Prater. He's been they don't kick for the final practice, so he's technically limited.
Yeah, and if you notice, he wasn't handling kickoffs last week either. That was Wishmeyer, and okay, that's great, and he did an okay job. Hey, we want to talk about things that were important. Like, the special teams did their job. They didn't put it into the end zone where they get it at the 35. Solomon makes a good open field tackle, so don't want to overlook that, because who knows if the Jaguars get it out to the 35 or 40, they're coming out with a little more strut there, perhaps.
And a week after they put the ball on the ground in the special teams game, that there'll be an emphasis paid on protecting the football in the special teams game going into Denver. So I wouldn't anticipate that you'll see another Ray Davis fumble.
The helmet right on the ball there for Ray Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, that when I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's the one thing you can't do in a playoff game. And, well, they survived that. I think you and I are feeling okay. I can't speak for you. I can speak for myself, and our official picks will come up tomorrow. But as we kind of explore the Denver Broncos and what they do well and maybe what they don't do well, it just seems like this is an okay matchup for Buffalo. But you are going on the road. Denver does have the extra week of rest. You do have Sean Payton, so that's why I'm not here to definitively say, okay, yeah, this is a shoe-in for Buffalo. Not by any stretch. This is they got the number one seed not by accident.
And what feels like it was an impossible stat, Bo Nix has won 10 straight games when he doesn't average better than 6 yards per pass attempt.
What does that even mean?
When he doesn't average better than 6 yards per pass attempt, he's won 10 straight games. So if he's throwing short, they win more games. 1-8 versus winning teams that score more than 17 points. That's an important stat for the Buffalo Bills. That's Bo Nix. Bo Nix is 1-8 versus winning teams that score more than 17 points. I don't know, Gene. Do you think that the Bills' offense can get more than 17? The lone win was against Green Bay, 34-26 back in December.
Which, if you remember that game, the Green Bay is like, once Parsons got hurt, you just feel and Jordan Love was just not good in that game either.
Sean McDermott's defense has never allowed more than 27 points in any playoff game except for the 3 played at Kansas City.
I was going to say, when you were saying that, I'm like, okay, I remember 30 points going up last year, and I remember that because that was the only time Kansas City scored 30 points last year.
The 3 played at Kansas City, they've given up more than 27 points in the postseason, but he's never allowed more than 27 points in a playoff game, except for the 3 played at Kansas City.
Talking with all the experts and talking with Stevie Johnson, who was fantastic, it wasn't just about the wide receivers, it was about the Bills at large there. I still have no idea what McDermott's going to do at safety here. And you can make an argument, Danger, that if he believes Hancock with a full week of reps, you put him out there. But I think the nature of McDermott is you default here to the veteran. Could we see Damar Hamlin out there?
Don't know how healthy he is. Don't know how good he looked in practice this week. Don't know if they want to activate him. I mean, there's some roster moves you have to make in order for that to happen. So
you got Cam Lewis, too, that you really – okay, well, sure, Lewis would make sense, but then what do you do when you need a dime package?
I don't know if I'm crazy, but I want Hancock back there. Maybe I'm crazy. I would love to see what Hancock looks like with a full week of preparation, with a full week knowing you're going to be the guy. Now, maybe that wasn't what happened because you had Hamlin practicing this week. And certainly Hamlin has more experience in this defense and knows where he needs to be a little bit more. But in terms of, with the mantra of winning now and winning in the future, what this could do for a player like Hancock to be out there. I think of what Cole Bishop did in the game against Kansas City last year, where it's like you kind of thrust him in there and he had an unbelievable game.
Yes and no, because the no part being when he came back this year, he wasn't even guaranteed a spot. And he didn't look right, certainly in the Baltimore game. Those safeties were turned inside out. All of a sudden, to me, the light bulb went on in the Saints game where he reads, diagnosed that play, and he's playing at a different level of confidence. To me, Bishop and Trey White kind of similar in the regard that, hey, their mental state, very important. When things are going well, let's kind of ride this here.
Let's talk about another player who I think could have a redemption game on Saturday. Because a lot was made earlier in the week of Tyrell Shavers and the torn ACL. We knew that Gabe Davis tore his ACL. And Keon Coleman, I believe, is in line for a redemption game. I don't know what the stat line looks like, but you could imagine at minimum that Keon is going to be contributing as a blocking receiver. That's a strength of his profile. It's a solid part of his skill set. But what about that actual breakout game? If you see Surtain covering Cooks or covering a tight end, and Coleman, let's say, is covered by Riley Moss. He's got a size advantage. You could certainly see in the red zone him going up and getting it. Keon elevating, scoring. Also keep in mind, Denver is a team that leads the league in defensive pass interference penalties with 22. Moss has 8 of them. They're one of the most penalized teams in the league, and it's Carl Sheffer's crew reffing the game on Saturday. They've called the second most penalties of any crew this season in the NFL, just over 17.5 flags per game. It feels like conditions are setting up for a Keon Coleman redemption game, Gino.
Well, it depends on who's on Coleman and where are Josh Allen's eyes, where are his reads. There is a marked difference. It's not like the Bills where you have Benford, who really, honestly, sometimes you could say all-pro, versus a former all-pro who's playing like a really great corner, too, in Trey White. You have the defensive player of the year in the NFL from 2024 on one side, Patrick Surtain. And the other side, Riley Moss. That's a corner you might be able to pick on. Okay, that's step one. Okay, if it's Coleman against Moss, does Josh Allen make that his primary read? Part 2 of this, and this is what was interesting talking to Stevie Johnson, because I'm trying to figure out how they employ Surtain. To me, Surtain on Cooks, kind of a waste, right? Like, that's not the strength of this Bills team. Like, if you're going to have your best defensive player, wouldn't you try to help out in other areas? And trying to put 2 and 2 together, wait, Christmas night, they put Surtain on Travis Kelce. And Steve's like, no, you don't understand. That would be great for Buffalo if they put Patrick Surtain on Dalton Kincaid, because Patrick Surtain against the run, what if it's a run? Okay, now you got to be down there and you got to make the tackle there. Is he going to be up for the challenge on that? That's, them thinking, well, Kansas City didn't really have much of a rushing attack. Maybe they were just kind of trying something out there. So to me, okay, Coleman, if they're following, are you more worried about Cooks or are you more worried about Coleman if Surtain is out there? I just think you do whatever is best for Surtain in that to make plays. And I'm not sure if you're going to follow Brandon Cooks on that.
It'll be interesting to see. Can't wait for the action. It's coming up Saturday afternoon. Our pregame coverage at 12 noon is Buffalo Bills pregame coverage gets underway at 12 noon. We'll have Sabres hockey on Saturday. We'll have the Bills. We'll have Amerks hockey on Saturday. We've got a full slate of games.
The question is, I really don't know how that Bills locker room views Keon Coleman because he's had some slip-ups. We know that. We've heard, Deion Dawkins put it bluntly afterward.
Got to grow up.
Got to grow up. Now, is there still – was it tough love? Because if he gets on a roll and his teammates start embracing him on that role, I'm just going to watch for the interactions too.
I like it, man. I have a hard time believing that a player like Keon Coleman would be on the outs with his teammates, right? Like and part of this is why I believe this is what Stevie Johnson said to us earlier today, that for everything that's gone on, Coleman has remained positive. Even if he doesn't truly believe everything he's saying all the right things. He knows.
The fact that he's saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy if you want to duck the media. It really is. You can just say not today or just give some sort of stand pat answer. And
he ain't A.J. Brown.
No.
Right?
He was out there in the tunnel in street clothes answering the questions and being front-facing. And to a level, that's accountability. But really, I don't need him to be accountable to the media. You got to be accountable to the guys in that locker room.
Sure. I think, it was only one play, but seeing him make a play against Jacksonville was nice. I think that gives you a little bit of belief that he can do it again. Maybe he can start to build that trust back up with Josh Allen because we certainly saw it earlier in the season, specifically in week 1. And I think you need him. I think you need somebody with that size, somebody that can go up if you're in the red zone and get it.
You need him to block.
And you need him to block.
You need him to block. Like Shavers. Like, wow, he only caught so many. No.
His strength was the block.
His strength is the block.
Yeah, and Gabe Davis was very good at that as well. So if they utilize him the way they were utilizing Shavers and Davis, Keon Coleman could have himself a nice day. If you're under the assumption that they're going to run the football, then he's going to be involved in that as well as a blocker, and James Cook could have himself a bit of a day. So there you go. There's the Bills news, the Bills injury report. And if you missed our conversation with Stevie Johnson or with Dr. Russ to get a deep dive on that injury report, you can find those conversations wherever you get your podcast, wherever you enjoy your shows. Just search out the Sports Bar. All of our guest appearances are listed for you right there.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to bring up the Harbaugh news.
I was going to say, elsewhere in the NFL.
Yeah, you have Harbaugh, who it's not official yet, but if all the talking heads and the media goombas are saying, they're just trying to work out the final details here. Does this neuter Joe Shane? I would think the answer is yes, because if John Harbaugh is coming in, this was always a big deal early on in the Bills thing. Who has the final say on the roster? Well, ultimately, it's Brandon Beane. If I'm John Harbaugh, I'm not taking this job with Joe Shane having the final say on the 53.
Correct.
I'm saying, here's my resume. Money, no problem. Seems like they've worked that out. And if you're Joe Shane, you'd be smart to say, okay. You'd be smart to say, okay, because John Harbaugh's...
I'll go a step further. Is Joe Shane employed come draft day by the New York Giants?
Ooh. Kind of like how McDermott came in,
Exactly.
and you forget Whaley was the GM.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe at this point you're too deep into your prep where you can't just reverse course or bring in somebody new from the outside. But why couldn't you do exactly what Sean McDermott did? No, I want to work with my guy. I'm not going to work with Whaley. I want to work with my guy. And Harbaugh can certainly make that pull if he wants to. I don't know if he has somebody in mind or if there was somebody that he was close with in Baltimore that he can poach. But one of the conditions that we knew Harbaugh wanted was the ability to pick his own GM. He had a financial thing. He wanted control of the roster. He wanted all of these things. And who's he been talking to this whole time? Has he been talking to the owners, or has he been talking to Joe Shane? I'm sure Shane has been a part of the conversation, but he's not the closer.
Yeah.
He's not the guy that's making the final call.
Well, right. So should be the GM I want to work with this. Then it goes up to the owner. Doesn't seem like this. Steve Chish's private jet down to the Baltimore.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. That's good.
Like, what owner doesn't have a private jet?
No, they all do.
Yeah.
Of course.
We can all strive for
Hey,
that.
I'm happy for Giants fans. I hope it works out for you. I've heard a lot of people say this to me, and it's a little, I take it as a little condescending, but I also don't disagree with it. Oh, the NFL is so much better when the Bears are good. I'm like, yeah, it is. I know we've been bad for a long, long time, but I don't disagree with that. And I feel the same way about the Giants. Like, I want a New York team to be good. I want the Giants to be good. The year that Daboll took them to the playoffs, it was fun. That was a fun year with Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins checking down in the postseason and the Giants getting a playoff win. That was a fun season.
I think they only say that when your team hasn't been, kind of in a rut. No offense.
Yeah,
to the
you
Bears.
forget. You just forget.
Nobody says, "Oh, the NFL's so good when the Steelers are good." Okay, well, yeah, they're kind of there. I'm like, maybe we'll get to that point. The Steelers take a massive step back. I don't know. But
Yeah,
I've heard that one. Like, oh, it's so good when the Raiders are good. Oh, well, yeah, you haven't been that way for a long time.
So I'm excited for Giants fans and my New York sport fan friends that I engage with on text are all counting down the days to tailgating season once again. Excited, already optimistic for the new season.
Yeah, well, honestly, like coaches that have won a Super Bowl with two teams, Danger, has never happened. You've never had a head coach win with one organization, and you've had coaches that came close, like Bill Parcells took the Patriots to the Super Bowl and lost. And before he got to Kansas City, Andy Reid got to a Super Bowl and lost. You have Dick Vermeil. That's kind of the tricky one. Dick Vermeil, 80 Eagles, loses, but then wins with the Rams later. Like, you have never done this, and I wonder, number one, it's just so hard to win a Super Bowl, but as you age, does the hunger become less? Does it? I don't know the reason. I thought somebody by this point would have done it. But I think that's just kind of noteworthy that Harbaugh, you're a Giant fan, you don't want to win the division, you want to win the whole thing.
Pete Carroll came real close this year, though. I mean, I really feel like that was the motivating factor, and it just kind of got a little derailed. The plan was there, it just got a little derailed. Sean Payton could be a guy that does it, right?
Ooh.
I don't think it's happening this year. Yeah, I don't think it's happening this year, but maybe down the road. Who knows? Mike McCarthy. Maybe Mike McCarthy has designs. The Titans are interviewing Mike McCarthy on Saturday. I don't think he's getting that job. I would give that job to Jason Garrett before I give it to Mike McCarthy. But Titans probably go cheap, hire a first-time head coach.
Yeah, hire an OC that can say they can connect with Cam Ward, blah, blah, blah.
Robert Saleh also going to get a second chance as well. He's been taking on a lot of interviews. Ravens, Titans, he's going to interview both of them.
As he should.
On Sunday. Yeah.
As he should. Look, what is he doing with that Niner defense right now? But my question would be, number one, Robert, why is it I see it this way, and then what happened with the Jets? Or does you just enter that building and it kills your soul?
I mean, you have to be very political with how you answer that question without completely talking crap about your former employer, because that's a red flag.
Well, that's true for anybody, right?
Right.
You don't. If you go in and say, blah, 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 it wasn't me, well,
that's
then
right.
You're out. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, you have to be very careful with how you answer that question, because any finger pointing, red flag. Any victim mentality, red flag. Any it was them, not me, red flag.
It's like we had somebody come work for us. Won't mention the name, and they were just like, "Oh, my former employer." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "Oh no." Oh,
Yeah,
no,
that ain't gonna fly.
No, okay. Oh, now they're probably doing the same thing about us.
That ain't gonna fly.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's your coaching carousel update as well. Let's get to a round of shots next. I know that there's a big story in college basketball that we talked about a little bit.
Yeah, that is kind of still evolving, and it does involve a Western New York team. Yes, this is kind of creeping in. We do have some baseball news for you, hockey stuff that's really good, and Bronco Nation going through the timeline of Haley Steinfeld. Well, I don't know this whole I don't know how the whole 2016 thing started.
Oh, everybody wants it to be 2016. 10 years ago was the best time in everybody's life. Was 2016 that great?
Well, we're gonna say that in 2036. Man, post a 2026 photo of yourself.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
but I think it's a viral thing. My kids are both into it. They're both like, yes, 2016, best year ever. And all they want to do is dress like 2016, listen to 2016 music. I don't get it. It was a great year. I mean, hey,
The Sports Bar debuted.
We debuted
Yeah.
in 2016.
There we
Really,
go.
that's all you need to know. I mean, of course, it was a great year. But what was so? There's a story about her timeline in 2016.
I'll let you be the judge on this.
Okay, a round of shots on the way. We have last call coming up as well. You can have the final word in the Sports Bar at 866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening
The final injury report out for the Buffalo Bills. Maxwell Harrison, Jordan Poyer will not be going to Denver. Questionable: Ty Johnson, Ed Oliver, Curtis Samuel, DeMar Hamlin, and Terrell Bernard. Head coach Sean McDermott on the challenge of going against the Broncos defense.
We've got to do as good a job as possible at managing what they do up front and what they do their front combined with their corner, one of the top corners in the league. And so it's a really good defense, very talented, and they play at a level where you've got to make sure that you've got all your assignments in check and you play good, sound football and you execute at a high level.
Meanwhile, in Seattle, quarterback Sam Darnold now listed as questionable with an oblique injury. Consta Hellenius gets called up to the Sabres. He'll make his NHL debut tonight. We've got the coverage 7 o'clock. The Sabres hosting Montreal. NBA game, one game in Berlin today. Orlando over Memphis. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
Listen to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The Fan, Rochester.
Happy Hour continues in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Every day at this time, we serve up a round of shots.
Yeah, not too often you win a game when you put up just 15 shots on goal, but that's what the Sabres did last night. 5-2, the win over Philadelphia. Rasmus Dahlin with 2 goals. Buffalo fending off a team that is right there with them from a playoff spot in the East. UPL didn't have to do too much, making just 20 saves. Tonight, the reunion of the 05-06 team, the one that lost to Carolina. The team, Sabres going to wear the goat-head jerseys. Montreal is the opponent. As we mentioned in the update, Consta Hellenius gets the tap as Josh Norris is out of the lineup, which who knows how long that'll be here.
Yeah, big win. I like that. And tonight, I'm paying attention because Montreal's good this year, and I want to see. I think it's smart that the Sabres had this big promotional night, this big event on a night where traditionally the opposing fan base invades, and maybe we see more Sabres noise and hear more Sabres noise tonight than we do Canadian fan.
Well, it's starting to come back, which is kind of exciting. UPL made 20 saves. So did Devin Levi. Levi and the Amherst shutting out Syracuse 3-0. Zach Jones with his first multi-goal game in the NHL. And Jones, Hellenius, and one other Amherst. Rosane going up. They will be your representatives for the Amherst at the American Hockey League All-Star Game. The Amherst, with that win, vaulting into second place. And they have a game at hand over 2 teams tied for third, Syracuse and Toronto. It's a trip back to Belleville for the Amherst on Friday. First of 3 straight road games for the Amherst, Saturday night in Utica, and then an MLK Day game that'll be taking place in Syracuse on Monday.
Yeah, 3 games in 4 days. Rough little stretch there, all on the road. We'll talk to Amherst head coach Mike Leone on Tuesday at his normal time, 4:25, and I promise I will be prepared.
You're always prepared.
I wasn't on Tuesday.
Well, you asked the question in a right way, but he zeroed in on, no,
I asked the question based on what I saw in the box score. And I wasn't being critical, but if you listen to Coach when he joins us every Tuesday, he's been putting an emphasis this season specifically on second period performance. And it makes a lot of sense when you're in any game. That third quarter, that second to third quarter, you can get into a lull. You can go from being, zoning out from being in the zone to zoning out.
That was a problem for the Bills last year. And this year, I think they flipped it, actually. That they come out after halftime, there we go.
Right. And so there is importance to, continuing to play at a high level, the level that you play at to start the game. So I get what he's saying, and it makes a lot of sense. And especially in the NHL, it's that second period. If you can win the second period and take advantage of the second period. And, we were talking about a game where first-place team scored multiple goals in the second period. But I was looking at the box score.
Yeah.
He corrected me quickly and let us know that even though they lost that game, there was a lot to like about that second period, including how many shots they got and how they absolutely peppered Laval that night. So the other thing we've noticed about not just Coach Leone, but a lot of hockey coaches specifically, in a losing effort, they will say that is one of the better games that we've played. I like how we played. Well,
all right, Team Beats shutting out Penn State 1-0, losing the next night 7-3. I like the way we played it on.
Right.
Wait, what?
Yeah, right. So that's just it's a hockey thing, I guess. But busy weekend for the Amerks, and we wish them best of luck. And big win last night against Syracuse.
20 former NCAA players. This is from men's basketball, charged in the point shaving scheme. The scandal is just kind of widening. It's actually more players, that more charges could be pending here. There's one thing in common, Danger. You look at this list. Yes, they're all Division I players, but none of them from any school that would offer NIL. And yes, there are 3 players with the UB Bulls. They're part of this. Sean Fulcher, Isaiah Adams, and an unnamed player. This happened 2 seasons ago. Each player, according to this indictment, given $54,000 to be part of the point-shaving scheme. UB losing all 3 of these games in question.
So I saw this headline cross my feed, and I don't like that my initial reaction was nothing. When we heard the Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups story, like I dove into that. I'm like, oh my God, let me see what this is about. This summer with
Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz. I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
this is big.
Right. Like, I want to know more about that. And I guess now I'm to the point where I'm numb to the stories of gambling scandals. And I don't like that I'm there. It's the analogy I made earlier is, it used to be a big deal when you would hear of a school shooting. You're like, oh, my God, and the world stopped. And everybody wanted to know why and how. And now, unfortunately, it happens as frequently as it does, and we kind of become numb, and all we can really do is provide a reaction of thoughts and prayers.
Well, I mean, like this here being this point-shaving scandal, I mean, is it accurate for me to describe it as a victimless crime? Or the victim is the person that, put the bet there on your favorite app?
The sport, I think, is the victim.
Well, the sport is a business, so they're not a person. Like, honestly, you need to protect your business.
The credibility.
The credibility
is at risk.
Yeah, I mean, there's people profiting off this in the other direction. I just think that some of these, who put this scheme together, you're an idiot. Like, honestly, $445,000 you're putting on a Tuesday night game, Buffalo at Kent State. Like, somebody really needed that action.
I don't think that would be a red flag.
Yeah, maybe try smaller amounts and start there, or maybe don't do that at all.
Right. Well, books will also limit the amount that you can bet on a game. If it's really up to their discretion. I mean, if they see that you're a frequent user and you're winning a lot, they will limit your abilities to win more by reducing your minimum or increasing what your minimum bet, or no, you know what I'm saying. They'll cap it. They won't let you have an unlimited ceiling to what you can bet.
I'd also say to the powers in Albany or whoever made this rule that, okay, you know what, New York State, you can't bet on teams because you know what, you live in New York State. We can't have you talking to the athletes or influence. Oh, okay, that really worked at Buffalo here, allegedly.
Yeah, I don't like that my reflex was to put my head in the sand and just say, oh, another one. And I don't watch college basketball.
When the NFL.
That's right.
It will your reaction will be like, oh my gosh, this playoff game that
That's right.
You're not monetarily invested, you're not emotionally invested in Fordham basketball.
Right.
So like that's the reason, but Danger, God forbid there is a scandal like this in the NFL. I think it happens in our lifetime.
I think so too.
Yeah, it's like, well, the players make too much. Okay, well, how much does that official make?
The NFL has done, I think, the best job of masking any problems. They've been quick and they've been firm. And if there are scandals to be found, I agree with you. That will be the thing that makes me like, whoa, really? Tell me more. Because we haven't had it. And out of all of the sports, doesn't it feel like when you watch the NFL, like that would be the most susceptible? Like that, come on.
Well, you call pass interference on that?
Think of the Pete Carroll game where he kicked the field goal at the end when he had absolutely no reason to do it, right? Like little things like that happen. It's like, investigate that man. Investigate the Raiders. Who had money? Like, really, what are we doing? But the NFL has been very good at controlling their messaging around this. They've been very swift at taking action. The Calvin Ridley suspension is the one that will still loom large. and none of these players want to be out for an entire season. And you're right. I don't have as much invested in college basketball. I'm not betting on Fordham or UB or Kennesaw State, but I just wonder. I wonder if there are people out there who, like me, can find a way to enjoy the games again when you don't have some skin in the game. I enjoy sports without having skin in the game.
Same. Like betting on baseball, not for me. I could sit down and watch a game.
Yeah,
no problem. March Madness comes around. Okay, like is the bracket considered betting? To me, it's not. Like, sure it is. Like, I'm putting money out there.
It is, but it's not habitual.
Like, that's the thing. Like, it comes around, and for me, fantasy football.
Yeah. Well, there was a period there when legalized sports wagering was first introduced to us in New York State. I was every day. It was part of my routine. It was part of my let me get my picks in. And I would love to share a story where I hit big and all my problems were solved. Yeah, by the time I cashed out, I maybe made over the course of a handful of years $1,200, $1,400.
Well, and that's great. That's good for Danger. That's fantastic.
Right.
And probably there's people that would be the opposite way. And I would just say there's nothing different than you going to the local racino and putting some money in. Okay, that was fun. Yeah, it was exciting, and I'm down $100 or whatever.
It was entertainment.
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's all it is.
Clayton Kershaw retired from MLB, but he's not done pitching. Kershaw will be part of Team USA for the upcoming World Baseball Classic in March. The U.S., my gosh, they should be a wagon, you would think. Aaron Judge, Paul Skeens, Rochester's Ernie Clement are among those who have committed so far.
That's right. I'm trying to remember. The last time the World, was it every 2 years that they do the World Baseball? Every three?
They do 3. So last time around, Japan wins, and it's Ohtani striking out Trout at the end to win it. And it was one of those.
Trout's not a winner. That's why.
It was one of those made for TV baseball. I hate Manfred. I'm not going to.
It was good.
It ended up being good.
It was good.
Like this time around, I'm paying attention.
And you know what? I'll throw another international event on there that I think right now we're being kind of critical of because of the optics of an arena not being done. I can't wait for the hockey tournament. I can't wait for the Olympics.
I can't wait. To me, I enjoy the Winter Olympics more than the summer. Maybe it's just simply because, hey, you're more prone to watching television this time of year, and when the Summer Olympics come around, we're all kind of busy doing whatever. But it's not it's funny. Like for our audience, we'll touch on the Olympics, but it's such a different audience when it comes other than the hockey.
What's the weirdest event that you'll watch from the Winter Olympics that you really it's on and you're glued? Curling. That's the answer.
Down. Yeah.
That is the correct answer.
I'm wondering how and what is the training. I'm thinking
that is the correct answer.
Show me what can they do kind of a vignette. Hey, how did you become a curler? And they go back to
Well, it started at the American Legion, and I was drinking 250 domestic beers with my friend, and we said, it would be fun. Let's start a curling team, and we did, and we started playing curling, and now here we are. 3 months later, and we're one of the best in the. I don't know. I'm being rude. That curling is the answer. That when curling is on, I don't know what it is. It's soothing. It's good for the soul. I can't wait to watch it.
It's botch on ice.
It is great.
Yeah.
I don't get it. But I give them credit.
Finally, Danger. I'm not sure who started this trend to post a picture in 2016, but someone dug through the timeline of Haley Steinfeld and found this tweet in the Super Bowl from 2016, February 12th, or 7th, 2016 to be exact. Haley's tweet, hell yeah, Broncos. There's Haley at the Super Bowl, the win over Carolina, and she's wearing a Broncos starter jacket. Now she's tagging the starter in this, so it looks like an influencer post from back then. But some Bronco fans are pointing out that, hey, she actually is one of us here.
Not true. And I can't fault her for what she was 10 years ago. And that's what she was. She was a influencer / music artist. She's a brand. And now she's got, some really good roles under her belt. And she's really kind of expanding her role as an actress, a Hollywood star.
She was 19 at the time.
Yeah. She's a kid.
Yeah.
She's a kid. And she probably had, I'm thinking back 10 years, I want to say she probably had a song or two that was popular at radio that was getting a lot of airplay that the kids were into. So she was somebody that they were leaning on.
You are the brand manager for PXY. You would know the answer to that.
No, she had, her biggest song was a song called Starving. And it was pop / electronic dance music. And it was a good song. It was fun. Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was the most devastating vocal performance I've ever heard from a pop artist, but she don't sing like Adele, but it was a fun song, and I can't be upset at her for
I'm looking
posting
at
that at 2016.
Like, you're not posting that and then tagging
starter
like that. That's a paid sort of thing,
right?
That okay, and then somebody obviously like, hey, you know what? Maybe don't you pay people for going things that might be a little bit questionable? I'm sure Starter still isn't paying for that, but I'm sure they're very pleased today that they're getting all this.
And
money.
if you're there and you don't have a rooting interest except for the company that's paying you to wear a Broncos coat, then wouldn't you be caught up in the moment when Denver wins that game the way they won that game? I think I would too.
Well, what leads people to think that she actually was in on the Broncos because she's doing, what was it, the DAP or whatever? Like she was doing the celebration Cam Newton did back then.
That's Cam Newton. So is she a pro Broncos or pro Cam Newton, or was she doing it in a mocking way?
She was doing it in a mocking way.
Yeah, I don't understand the trend of going back 10 years and wanting it to be 2016. My kids are into it. Everything. Every song, they've got 2016 playlists. They've got they want to bring back their fashion from 2016. I remember we vacationed hard in 2016. We did a week in Myrtle Beach, and then we followed it up with 2 weeks in Spain, and then we came back and the sports bar was born.
It's funny because I remember that time too, and they're like, "Hey, we have this opportunity. We want to start during." I'm like, yeah, that's great. I'm going to be in Ocean Isle Beach, North Carolina, those 2 weeks. I don't know what, so that's why you and I, we should have started that during training camp, but you were in one spot, I was in another, and we made it work there leading into the NFL. And that first show, as we always say, was awful.
Oh, we don't talk
awful.
about it. Yeah, we've erased it from the memory banks. It does not exist. We roll the tape on everything. We don't roll the tape on that. That's gone. We got to take a quick break. We'll come back. Last call. You can have the final word in the sports bar at 585-8664-FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with 97 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
All right, everybody can relax. I know you're all waiting. We cannot be complete unless we hear from John from Rochester during last call at 585-866-4FAN. What are you doing, you Spartan, you?
Hey, I'm just reveling in this time of year, man. We're going all the way. It's in the cards. There's no doubt about it. And I'll tell you, Brandon Cooks, he's looking damn good. I mean, he's a weapon now. I was really impressed with what he did Sunday. And, I'm going to make a prediction. Poyer and Oliver, they're going to be the studs in the championship game and in the Super Bowl. They'll be key players in that win, in both those wins. And I can't tell you, I am pumped up. But one thing I'm really concerned about, what really ticked me off on Sunday, the cheap shots our Bills took from Jacksonville. Gabe Davis and Shavers, they got cheap shotted. And a lot of other players did too. They were going low at the knees, and that really ticked me off. I know you guys talked about it a little bit earlier. Do you think Jacksonville will get fined for that?
Yeah, I think it's possible. And John, thank you for the call. I mean, we've heard this. Like, players would rather have you go at their head than their knee, and the one Jacksonville defender, like, going down low with Gabe Davis is. I mean, I don't even know. Like, shouldn't that even be a flag at that play? I mean, it happened so quick. And then I'd throw in there James Cook too, like going low on James Cook the one play, like proper tackling technique. You don't want to hurt somebody. But about Poyer, I don't know if we see Poyer again, John.
I think we're done with Poyer.
Yeah, when I hear week to week, and the thing that's going to make, with this being a Saturday game, you want to listen tomorrow to the show because we're going to learn who that gets called up in the practice squad. And if you hear Frank Gore Jr., well, then you know Ty Johnson isn't available. I still think it's a mystery who will be starting at safety alongside Cole Bishop. John, thanks for the call. Danger Fun show we already have lined up for tomorrow.
Yeah, Cody Rourke, Locked On Broncos podcast, and Mile High Sports will also be joining us at 3:25 tomorrow afternoon. And Damon Amendolara, the Bill Maddock podcast, DA, making his visit here at 4:25 tomorrow. Are we abbreviated tomorrow, Gino? I want to say we're abbreviated tomorrow. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've got hockey
abbreviated tomorrow. So we'll give you all the last-minute information for before kickoff tomorrow afternoon here in the Sports Bar. New episode starts at 3 o'clock. And if you missed any of today's show, our YouTube channel is a good place for you to start. The Fan Rochester. Bet MGM tonight. On the way next. Sabres hockey coming up at 7.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. 95.7 FM and AM.